ladies and gentlemen, to this special meeting of the Los Angeles City Board of Public Works on Tuesday, September 15th, 2020. Hope everyone is well, and we have a very full agenda, so we're going to get right down to business. Item number one, excuse me, Dr. Campos, what do we have?
Yes, let's go ahead and establish quorum and roll call for today, President Good. We are joined today, of course, by President Good, Vice President Garcia, Commissioner Caloza, Commissioner Villegas, and President Pro Tem Davis. President Good, you do have a quorum. For the record, we have Commissioner Caloza, Good, and Villegas that are dialing in remotely from their City Hall offices. I am also dialing in remotely from my office here at City Hall. Dr. Davis and Vice President Garcia are dialing in remotely from home. We're also joined today by our General Counsel, Mr. Ted Jordan. On the line, President Good, you do have a quorum. Currently, we do not have any commentary or speakers on the line for general public comment. We do have and did receive a letter from the Wilshire-centered Koreatown Neighborhood Council for the Neighborhood Council commentary, so that will be noted as received. That letter has been distributed to all commissioners, including our General Counsel, regarding their commentary under Neighborhood Council comments section. For today's special agenda, we do have a letter that was received from item 11, and then we also have individuals on items 6 and 11 on the line for speaking.
Correction. Davis is calling in from the office. You said home.
Dr. Davis, I apologize. City Hall, I see you there.
Okay. So, Dr. Campos, you said we have Neighborhood Council comment, and then we also have callers for item 6 and item 11?
That is correct. We have the contractor on item 11 for potential award. We also have a member from Council District 10 for item 6. We have someone from CFAC on item 6, and then the letter that was received from the Wilshire Center Koreatown Neighborhood Council on item 6.
Okay. So we should hear the Neighborhood Council commentary as a starting point, correct?
Yes. Also, Mr. President, the Wilshire Center Koreatown Neighborhood Council did submit a letter response through our Google form. Their commentary just indicates, please see letter of opposition sent via email. So that's the letter that was sent to you. So that was received through the Google forms on our website.
Okay. And then hearing that there's no other public comment, we will move on to item number 1 today. Item number 1 is approval of the minutes from Friday, September 4th, 2020. Do I have a motion to approve these minutes?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any objections, Commissioner Villegas? Any objections, Vice President Garcia?
No objections.
All right, hearing no objections, the minutes from September 4th, 2020 are approved. Item number 2 is the receipt of bids on 2 different proposals. They're now here. So bids were received at 10 a.m. for the following public works, or actually, Dr. Campos, why don't you take this from here?
Yeah, absolutely, Mr. President. Item number 2 are 2 bids to be received, or 2 projects to be received today. The first is the Tiny Home Village, Chandler Boulevard. This is in Council District 2. The city engineer estimated this project to be at $4,589,164. However, subsequent to the release of the agenda, the city engineer has revised that cost estimate to $3,053,983. Again, that revised city estimate is $3,053,983, even in Council District 2. That's for the first project, Mr. President. The second project is our street lighting conduit only project, Unit 10, high voltage conversion in fiscal year 2021. This is in Council Districts 4, 5, 14, and the city has estimated the second project to be at $1,680,000 even. We will begin to open up bids in about 30 seconds. Mr. President, I am going to turn off my video capabilities at this time, and I will join you in your office 6 feet apart.
Great. See you in a sec. Oh, isn't life interesting these days?
It had a little bit of like a Batman feel. Good.
Mask fashion. I have to contemplate it every morning, right? Like, what? Hi, Amy. Good to see you, and Melinda. Hi.
Mr. President, can you hear me okay?
I can.
Perfect. We will begin to open up the bids for the first project. Again, this is for the tiny home village on Chandler Boulevard. We did receive one bid for the project from Ford EC for a total bid amount of $3,487,592 even. That's $3,487,592 from Ford EC Incorporated. Mr. President, that concludes the bid openings for the first project. We will now begin to open up bids for the second project. Again, the second project is for the street lighting conduit only project unit 10 in council districts 4, 5, and 15. We did receive 6 bids in total for this second project. The first bid is from Comet Electric Incorporated for a total bid amount of $2,103,269 even. That's $2,103,269 from Comet Electric Incorporated. The next bid is from Baker Electric Incorporated for a total bid amount of $1,665,427 even. That's $1,665,427 from Baker Electric Incorporated. The third bid is from Elecnor Belco Electric Incorporated for a total bid amount of $1,694,686 even. That's $1,694,686 from Elecnor Belco Electric Incorporated. The fourth bid received for the second project is from KBC Incorporated, doing business as Dynalectric, for a total bid amount of $2,064,567 even. That's $2,064,567 from KBC Incorporated, doing business as Dynalectric. The next bid is from International Line Builders Incorporated for a total bid amount of $2,264,608 even. That's $2,264,608 from International Line Builders Incorporated. The sixth and final bid received for the second project is from Servitech Electric Incorporated for a total bid amount of $1,606,180.77. That's $1,606,180.77 from Servitech Electric Incorporated. Mr. President, that concludes the bid openings for the second project and all bids for today's special event.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Campos. Okay.
Mr. President, we will need a motion to receive the bids, open them, and declare them for.
Do I have a motion, colleagues, to receive the bids and open them and move this forward forthwith?
So move.
I'll second David.
All right, I've got President Pro Tem Davis motioning to open and receive and move forward the bids, seconded by Vice President Garcia. Any objections, Commissioner Villegas?
None, thank you.
Thank you. Any objections, Commissioner Colosa?
None, thank you.
All right, thank you all very much. These bids are received, opened, declared, and moved forward forthwith. Thank you all very much. All right, moving forward now, what I would like to do, colleagues and ladies and gentlemen, is move, because I feel like we've got a number of different folks here. I'd like to move item 6 to the front of the queue and address item 6 right now. Item 6 is in CD10. This is a tree removal request at 3643 West Wilshire Boulevard. Recommending the board, 1, find under the California Public Resources Code, Section 21166 and the state's Environmental Quality Act, Guidelines, Section 15162, on the basis of substantial evidence contained in the whole record, that since the city's prior certification of Environmental Impact Report, EIR, ENV 210-1407 EIR, there have been no changes to the project, changes with respect to the circumstances under which the project is being undertaken, or new information of substantial importance concerning the project, which cause new significant environmental effects or a substantial increase in the severity of previously identified significant effects, and therefore no subsequent EIR, supplemental EIR, or other analysis is required for the project. 2, specify that the Bureau of Street Services Urban Forestry Division, located at 1149 South Broadway, is custodian of the documents or other material that constitute the record of proceedings upon which the board's decision is based. And 3, review and approve this tree removal permit request to remove 4 jacaranda trees. Tree replacements are required. Hector Banuelos is here to give the presentation. We also have comments on this item. What I would like is for Mr. Banuelos to first give his presentation, then we will hear comment, and then colleagues will have the opportunity to deliberate. Okay? So, Mr. Banuelos, the stage is yours.
Yes, good morning, President Good, Commissioners. Hector Banuelos with the Bureau of Streets LA, Urban Forestry Division. We have before us is a request to remove 3 jacaranda trees in front of 3643 West Wilshire Boulevard. That's in the Wilshire Center, Koreatown Neighborhood Council, and within Council District 10. The project, this is includes the construction remodeling of a religious and educational complex at a temple. It includes the elementary school for 420 students and nursery school for approximately 216 students, and including other renovations, other buildings on the property there. This is a 3.6 acre site located on the north side of West Wilshire Boulevard, bounded by South Harbor Street to the east and South Hobart Street to the west. The Wilshire Temple is concerned for the security of all who visit the complex and proposing to construct and implement safety measures in the public right-of-way. The safety measures include construction of metal and concrete bollards, the planting of large palms, and raised concrete planters and along West Wilshire Boulevard, and also along the Harbor Street side of the project site. Initially, the division sought to recommend denial of the removal request, thinking that there could be other alternatives to save the trees. However, we had some recent communication, recent discussions with the applicant, and they shared with us additional details and why the bollards need to be installed along the roadway. They are concerned regarding the public safety of those who visit and that can congregate within the sidewalk areas in front of the temple. And so with the concerns that were raised and explained to us, and also in addition to additional details of how the bollards and other safety measures were going to be implemented, it became apparent that the trees were not going to survive the impact of the bollards if they're to be installed with those trees in place, and therefore they're going to be severely impact these trees, and they have to be removed, unfortunately. Initially, the application came in for 4 jacaranda trees. However, for unknown reasons, 1 was removed, but there are 3 remaining jacaranda trees there in front of Wilshire Boulevard that will be severely impacted if the bollards would be installed as on the plan, indicated on the plans. The jacaranda trees measure approximately 8 to 10 inches in diameter by about 20 to 25 feet in height. They're in fair condition, very good condition. However, as I mentioned previously, they will be severely impacted if they are to remain and that the bollard to be installed as designed. So therefore, the division is recommending that the board approve the request for the tree removal permit. And if approved, the applicant will plant 18-foot brown trunk California fan palms along Wilshire Boulevard and 5 36-inch box-sized red buds, western red buds, planted along Wilshire and raised planters. Along the Harbor Street side, the applicant is proposing to plant 5 48-inch box-sized Chilean mesquite trees, and the trees will be watered for a minimal 3-year period through their establishment. The council office, the neighborhood council, and the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment were notified of the tree removal permit request. Any questions?
Yes, I have some.
Real quick, President Pro Tem Davis. Hector, can you just repeat again what the replacement plan is?
Yes, certainly, no problem. If approved, the applicant shall plant a total of 18 trees. Right, there'll be a total of 8 palms planted in groups of 4 along Wilshire Boulevard. These are going to be California fan palms with about 18 feet of brown trunk. That's the height of the palms there, the trunk height. And then 5 western red buds, and planted in raised planters along Wilshire Boulevard. Along the Harbor Street side, the applicant is proposing to plant 5 48-inch box-size Chilean mesquite.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Benuelos. I trust you and your colleagues will stick around for ensuing conversation. Commissioner or President Pro Tem Davis, if you could, what I'd like to do before we start conversations is hear from the public. We have a couple of different callers, including the council office of jurisdiction. And so, Dr. Campos, how many callers do we have on?
For item number 6, we have 2 callers, Ms. Joanne D'Antonio and Jamie Wang from Council District 10. Would you like to hear the Council District first or Ms. D'Antonio?
Let's start with Ms. D'Antonio, please.
Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and unmute. Joanne D'Antonio?
I think there's one more caller too. I think the neighborhood council has made the call. You might have to find her. This is a process comment I want to make because I believe the ship has sailed on this one without any ability for the neighborhood council to be involved. On August 15th, the Wilshire Center Koreatown Neighborhood Council received a notice from UFD recommending denial of the tree removal request for 3643 West Wilshire Boulevard to install bollards. So the neighborhood council did nothing. Meanwhile, talks with the requester took place, and now UFD no longer is recommending denial of the request. Yesterday, the transmittals finally became publicly available, and we find out there's a structure going up, not just bollards. The sustainability rep on the neighborhood council called the applicant yesterday, who essentially told her that talks have happened, the ship has sailed, and the tree removal will happen. Despite that, the neighborhood council voted last night to oppose, and took the time to write a long letter of their concerns to lose 3 healthy jacaranda trees, this in an environmental justice area. Koreatown has not one park, so street trees are the only public trees. Remove these trees, and there will be no trees taking their place for quite some time, probably not until the new building is finished. And then replanting happens, and then the new trees have to have a chance to grow. And this, if the saplings survive the heat we face in the near future, you should at least require irrigation installed. I will remind you, trees are the outdoor air purifiers to mitigate the smoky air, and reports are that air quality is severely declining. There's kind of a tyranny of the minority here when pedestrians need access to a house of worship and they take precedent over the air quality of the neighborhood. We have to find solutions that do not sacrifice public trees. Beyond being a CFAC rep, I chair the Neighborhood Council Sustainability Alliance Trees Committee. I'm sorry?
It's been 2 minutes. Thank you, Ms. D'Antonio.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. D'Antonio, very much.
Great. At this time, Mr. President, we do have the member from Council District 10. I'd also like to offer the last opportunity for anyone that has joined us after the 10 o'clock hour that would like to speak on item number 6. If you can press *9 at this time, if you're calling in from a landline or a smartphone device, press *9 to speak on item number 6. Great. Mr. President, we do have one person that has raised their hand. Would you like to take that call now, or Council District 10?
Why don't we take the other call real quick?
Great, absolutely.
Or not real quick.
Caller ending in 927, caller ending in 927. Can you please press *6 at this time, state your name, and you'll be given 2 minutes to speak on this item. Please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Israelis. I'm calling representing the Wilshire Center Koreatown Neighborhood Council. We sent in a letter in opposition to this for several reasons. One being that we were not involved in this process, and it's really upsetting that nobody came to us, that there was no communication, that a tree has already been removed without our notification. And these trees have been there for, from the photo archive that we have found, at least 50 years. So these are a part of our neighborhood. So is Wilshire Center, so is Wilshire Boulevard Temple. And as both being part of our neighborhood, being part of our landscape, and being invaluable resources, we need to have a discussion together as a community about how these trees can be saved. I'm also absolutely in opposition of the fact that there is even a consideration by any department in the city to allow for the replacement of any type of tree with a palm. The city council explicitly voted that palm trees should not be used as replacements and should not be used as streetscapes on city streets. So palm trees absolutely should not be put in on public properties. That includes streetscapes. They do not provide the shade, they do not provide the air filtration or any environmental benefits that real trees do. They're actually not even technically trees. So we are absolutely opposed to the addition of these palm trees and believe that it cannot be allowable, seeing as the city council has voted against it in 2016 or 18. So we would ask that at the very least, Board of Public Works, you guys give it time. So give us time to actually talk to the applicant more extensively and discuss other options, such as putting the bollards towards the building or using bollards with a permeable base. I'm sorry, I'm permitted 5 minutes, my understanding, because we did submit in advance. But I am wrapping up. So yeah, we would like to talk more with the applicant and understand, because we do believe that there are other ways to ensure the safety of the patrons while still keeping these trees, which are a beloved part of our community.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And Mr. President, she is correct. If she's with the Wilshire Koreatown Neighborhood Council, they do have a unlimited amount of time, a reasonable amount of time at the beginning of the call. I did not know the caller was from the Neighborhood Council. We will go to the next caller, and that is Jamie Wang.
Good morning, Ms. Wang.
Ms. Wang, please go ahead. Your line is open.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we got you.
Okay. Excellent. Good morning, members of the Board of Public Works and the members of the general public joining us today. My name is Jamie Huang. I am calling representing the Office of Councilmember Herb Wesson in Council District 10. I'm calling to voice Council's support and concurrence for the recommendations submitted by the Urban Forestry Division for item 6 that is being considered before you right now. And if time permits, I would appreciate it if Hector from Urban Forestry could reiterate what the total numbers and types of trees will be planted to replace the 3 trees that are being recommended to be removed to allow the bollard installation. I believe that was part of his presentation and perhaps would address some of the concerns provided during general public comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you for joining us today. Okay, before we go back to Hector and Greg Spots and Adele Hashkalil are with us as well today, we have no more callers, Dr. Campos?
That is correct, Mr. President.
Okay, then President Pro Tem Davis, I feel like you're chomping at the bit.
Yeah, I just have a basic informational question. I see that the council office supports, and in terms of the various trees, I see that there is a diversity of trees that will be replacements. And so my question basically is, how did we get the various selection of trees that we have for replacement? Who got input in that, or did we from forestry just recommend those based upon data that we have? Just how does that, for my own basic information, how did that decision take place in terms of the various different trees that we selected?
Hi, this is Greg Spots, Assistant Director and Chief Sustainability Officer for Streets LA. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Commissioner Davis, this particular project is, a 9-figure project with a campus, and it has a very specific and detailed landscaping plan for the whole campus by Mia Lair and Associates. It's very different than sort of your typical commercial housing project where they ask us what trees to put in and the fewest possible, and we tell them where and what to put in. There's an integrated and sophisticated landscaping plan from the applicant that is integrated with the security plan. And the palette of trees is designed, I understand, to accommodate the bollards for security and have broadleaf trees behind the property line, providing some shade for the sidewalk area, but not with their root systems where the bollards are at the curb line.
So everybody, obviously the stakeholders, the temple staff and or organization agrees with the selection that we made, and obviously the council office agrees with the various species that we have chosen. Is that correct, Mr. Spots?
I would say actually that our agency concurs with the landscaping plan that the project's landscape architect has proposed. I see. Now that we understand the complexities
Gotcha.
of the way the security interacts with the trees. Just a note on process, this board directed our agency in late 2018 to engage in a documented process to explore design alternatives when mature, healthy street trees are threatened by a project.
Sure.
And we had that dialogue last week, first at the executive level with myself and the rabbi and others, and then at the staff level with Mr. Banuelos and a representative from the landscape architecture firm for the project. And we have documented that dialogue in the board report. So, you know, we as an agency understood the criteria that informed the landscaping plan and the security plan much better, having had those detailed discussions last week.
Great, great. Okay, so now, Mr. President, I don't know if the rabbi is willing to participate, but if he would like to have any remarks as it relates to the project, I think it would be important and welcomed.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to, but also will wait my turn.
Okay.
So whatever the president wishes is fine with me.
We'll definitely afford you an opportunity, Rabbi Letter. Thank you so much for being here. I should acknowledge you joining us along with community folks as well. But thank you for being here, and we'll definitely give you an opportunity here. Dr. Davis, do you have any follow-up questions?
That's it for me. I just wanted to understand the process by which we arrived at the various diverse selection of trees that have taken place. And from Mr. Spott's testimony, I understand that their landscape consultant made this choice based upon data that he had that would fit into the overall plan of the campus that will be the beneficiary of the various trees for which we've selected. That's my understanding.
Yes. Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Vice President Garcia, any questions or comments?
No, I don't have any questions at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Calosa, any questions or comments?
Yeah, I just have a few questions. Thank you, President Good. I guess this question might be for Mr. Spotts or Mr. Benuelos. But could you speak to and explain the issue raised about the type of tree in terms of the fan palm that was chosen? I know Commissioner Davis touched on it a little bit, but wanted to understand, since it was raised, about the direction from City Council about not wanting to plant those trees in the public right-of-way, if you can explain.
Yes, good morning, Commissioner. You know, I'm unaware of council voting and approving not planting palms in the right-of-way. It's something that's new to me. If they did, I don't know about it. I'd like to know what council file that is, and I can research it. But the applicant did, we did see these landscape plans a while ago, and based upon the project and its and a lot of times in these projects, they do suggest tree species. Sometimes we make changes, and a lot of times they're appropriate. So in this case, the trees are appropriate for the project.
Okay. Yeah, if that's something I could recommend, and I think that's really important for UFD to know, you know, both in relation to this request and for requests in the future about what action that might have been. I'm not sure if it still applies and is current for today. I don't know, but I think if your team could please look into that so we make sure we understand what action that was at City Council that was referenced, that would be great. Other question I had, I'm not sure if this is most appropriate for Rabbi Leader to respond to, but were there certain vulnerabilities with this, with the campus, with this area that triggered you wanting to make this change in your landscape and this change to the surrounding areas around where the school is and where the temple is?
Yeah. Thank you for the question, Commissioner. The answer is an unequivocal yes. Wilshire Boulevard Temple is obviously a high-profile target for those who foment anti-Semitism. You're talking right now to a guy who receives at least a couple of threats a week, mostly from white supremacists, occasionally from religious fundamentalists. We have hundreds of school children on this campus. We're constructing a very, very high-profile, iconic, modern masterpiece for the entire city, which is designed by Rem Koolhaas, a Pritzker Prize-winning architect, and his first building in California, and it's right on Wilshire Boulevard. And we consider that also, as does DHS and LAPD, to be a very high visibility, high impact statement kind of target. This building will have, we hope on many occasions, upwards of 1,000 people in it for large events. It's a gathering place for the city. And LAPD and Department of Homeland Security worked with us on our threat deterrence package. We have LAPD here today. We have our Director of Security here, Corey Winter, former Marine, who keeps our campuses secure. And everyone worked together on this threat deterrence program. And it must include these bollards to prevent a car or truck bombing attempt on this building. You should know, in addition to the threats that are a regular part of life for Wilshire Boulevard Temple, we've already had the construction fence in front of the building set on fire, and we've had vandalism. And I don't think any of us, look, I love trees. I grew up in a forest in Minnesota, but I don't think any of us want on our heads an attack that could have been prevented because of 3 trees. And this is where we are. And we've done our best, to create what really, I assure you, all of the commissioners, will be one of the finest pedestrian experiences in Los Angeles, to be walking down that block on Wilshire Boulevard, past that building, and, the 8 palms, 5 red buds, and 5 mesquite trees that we are going to be adding. So, but yes, it's a very real threat that has to be deterred.
Thank you so much, Rabbi, for sharing that, for outlining the work that you've done with your security team and LAPD and Department of Homeland Security. I think that's really important to contextualize about the why you're doing this. And yes. I'm really sorry to hear about any attacks or threats that you personally have received and that the Wilshire Boulevard Temple has received, knowing that there's children there and your members and members of the community. So I'm really sorry to hear about all of that.
Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate that.
And so I don't think I have any other questions for UFD or for Rabbi. I do think that it's always a fine balance that we're striking with these requests, and I understand the concerns from the neighborhood council and people who give public comments. So thank you for always participating in the process. And it's really the question of balancing safety to our community and to our community members and protecting trees, and that can be really tough, and that's really, I know, what's in front of us today. So I'll yield the rest of my time, but thank you again to the Rabbi for sharing that.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Villegas.
Thank you, and I'm appreciative to my colleagues just for asking those additional questions to provide context to these issues before us and sometimes difficult decisions that we have. I don't want to minimize, the request before us. It is 3 trees, and I'm appreciative that that the temple was able to provide additional. It looks like an additional 13 trees to be able to accommodate for the loss of the trees. I just want to go back one more time just for clarification in terms of the justification for the palm trees. If I could ask that of either the landscape architect or the rabbi, that would be helpful.
Yeah, I'm going to defer to either Deborah or Gerard. Deborah, why don't you take this? And you haven't had a chance. She's our architect of record and has a grasp of all of these issues.
Sure. So first, I guess I'd like to start by pointing out that we are replacing 2 to 1 or better than 2 to 1 with shade trees. They're just not all along Wilshire boulevard, but half of them are. So as we said, we'll have 5 western red buds in planters, and we put them in planters so that the planters can help to act as a deterrent and to raise the tree up as well so that it actually provides better shading on the sidewalk. The reason for the palm trees is that it is a species that is already used in front of the historic sanctuary, but also it's a species that has a small enough root ball that we can have them be in place in between our required bollard spacing. So they're not in place of a bollard, they are just fitting in between the bollards, and it is about the only species, because palm trees have a compact root ball, that it won't be impacted by the bollards, and it won't impact the footing of the bollards either way. And so there's really multiple reasons for the palm trees. One is that they work in this security configuration, but they also carry on with the landscape that has been in place in front of the historic sanctuary, and it helps to tie the entire campus together by doing so. These buildings are very different styles, and we think that they work beautifully together, but we think it's really important that the streetscape also be cohesive to improve the pedestrian realm and really to unify the entire campus.
Thank you so much. My other question is just the communication with the neighborhood council. If we could just get clarity on that, both from like Streets LA and then from the applicant, that would be good.
Sure. Greg, do you want to go first?
Sure, yes. Our process, as I understand it, is that we provide an email notification to the council office, the neighborhood council, and the Community Forest Advisory Council, CFAC, whenever a tree removal request has been received by our agency. And then after that, we converse with anyone who engages us in dialogue about that project. And then we post the board report, and then folks can review the board report on the agenda and come to the meeting and share their thoughts, and that's consistent with what's taken place here.
I would only add that I reached out personally to the president of the council and to one member of the council who expressed some concern. I had a lengthy phone conversation with her. I received an email from the president of the council expressing his personal, I want to be very clear about that, it was personal, he was not speaking on behalf of the council, his personal support of the tree removal and of the project in general. And frankly, I was surprised to see the letter that we saw first thing this morning because I did reach out and did have those conversations.
When you reached out, Rabbi Leader, did you ask if you can make a presentation to the neighborhood council, or did they indicate at all that they would be speaking to a larger audience or anything like that, any process like that?
They asked nothing of us, and we had a meeting with them. I'm a little fuzzy on the date, a couple of months ago at least, to talk about other issues related to the project, and the issue of landscape never arose, and they expressed their verbal support at that time for the entire project. So this was a little bit of a surprise to me. They have every right to ask these questions. We all want a better pedestrian experience in Los Angeles. So they have every right to ask these questions, but they didn't ask them of me. I reached out to them.
Thank you. I have no more questions right now, President Good.
Okay. So, Rabbi Leader and Deborah, would love to give you an opportunity, having heard the questions and having heard some of the other public comment, to just essentially share your vision for the import of this request, and why we're here from your perspective.
Deborah, you want to go ahead?
Sure. Well, and I'll try and be succinct so that I don't repeat what has already been said, but as you know, religious institutions and especially synagogues pose a very specific threat. And so that's why we need these special security bollards to, which are engineered to take a specific size truck moving at a specific speed to help protect life and property. And to be the most effective, they need to have the greatest standoff possible, which requires these bollards to be as close to the curb as they can and as far away from the building as possible. And so we've really worked closely with our security experts to reduce the number of bollards, make the spacing as wide as possible so that we could have trees be along that public right-of-way. And although there may be concern about using palm trees in this regard, that is the only species that fits within the bollards that does not interrupt the spacing. And if we would interrupt the spacing, we would be leaving a vulnerability. So although trees look very stout, and the jacarandas certainly look like they're stout, to the eyes of a security expert, they provide no benefit. And so that is why we have this request in. Jacarandas have a much broader root system than palm trees, and especially since they're existing, it would not be possible for us to install the bollard footing without severely impacting the health of these jacaranda trees. And it's the experience and expertise provided to us that they would not survive. And so we have found a way to provide shade through putting in the 5 western redbuds on raised planters. And in addition, we have other jacarandas that are planted on our property just on the other side of the sidewalk. And the reason that that spacing works is that they're far away from the bollards, and therefore their root system has room to grow. Just to reiterate, we do very much love trees. We have many trees planted on the campus, and in the public right-of-way, we are replacing at a greater than 2 to 1 the trees that are being lost. Rabbi?
I would just add to that, we're adding 25 trees on the private side of the project. I agree that we need parks and open spaces, and we're building a rooftop garden with mature olive trees on it that'll be an amazing experience for the public during the times we can grant access. So we're very committed to the neighborhood. We run a social service agency that takes care of our neighbors. We feed 50,000 people a year on our campus. We provide free dental, free vision, free legal aid, free mental health services in Korean, Spanish, and English on our campus. We have hundreds of school children on our campus, and are as engaged in the community as I think any synagogue in the country. This project has been the most difficult thing I have ever done in my life. Over the past 7 or 8 years, I have raised close to $100 million for this building. And we have tried, and I believe have succeeded in doing our very, very best to create an extraordinary gift to the city. Extraordinary. And we need to, because of that, keep this building and everyone in it safe. And to trust the wisdom and the experience of LAPD and the Department of Homeland Security and our own security people as well. So I trust them with my life, and we need to trust them with keeping this extraordinary gift to the community safe and everyone in it safe. And as I said, I'll conclude with the fact that we're committed to creating what, in my opinion, will be the most extraordinary one-block pedestrian experience in Los Angeles. It's going to be really, really special. And the building is on time and on budget and will be completed in January. I do think it may be helpful for the commissioners to know that this current process we're in has caused about a month's worth of delay at a cost of about $10,000 a day. Every day we wait to implement this plan is costing us $10,000 a day. And during a pandemic, it is impossible for me to go out and raise that extra money. So if the commission could see its way to acting today, it would be very, very welcome and important for Wilshire Boulevard Temple and for our efforts to bring this great project to the city. And I really thank all of you for everything you do in general and specifically for considering this request so carefully. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Rabbi. Thank you, Deborah. I see that we have representation from LAPD's Olympic Division on the call. Officer, how are you?
Good morning, sir. I'm very well, sir.
Good morning. Would love to, thanks for joining us. Would love to get your input on the safety implications faced by the temple and this project in general, and how this project will help to ameliorate or assuage those.
I think he may be frozen. Oh, there he is.
There we go.
Okay, okay. I apologize. Yeah, my name is Sergeant Jesse Puente from the Community Relations Office from Olympic Station. I apologize. I missed part of what you said there because unfortunately the internet froze.
No problem. Thank you, Sergeant, for joining us. I really just wanted your input on the public safety threat and the impact of this project on, and specifically this piece of the project on addressing and assuaging that threat.
I believe that this location is a real threat, and this added security layer will be very beneficial not only to preventing that specific site from becoming a potential target, but also the interaction with the pedestrians in that area. I was able to go out there, kind of take a look at the current trees. Some other concerns that I did see in addition to that becoming a potential threat would be the encroachment. The sidewalks are kind of raised in that area. I think them fixing this could kind of level that area, make it a better pedestrian experience. But certainly, I can't add more than what the architect has already talked about, but I do believe that this proposed plan would definitely make it a much safer environment there for the temple and the people visiting that area.
Thank you, Sergeant. I very much appreciate that. Rabbi Leader and Mr. Odd, just a couple of quick follow-up questions that I have. One is, and maybe more clarification just for the amateur arborist Fred Flintstone that I am in this realm. So the palm trees will both, because in disclosure, I'm sold on the limited value of palm trees, just to be completely transparent with everyone to hear. And I don't hear y'all saying that palm trees are optimal. What I'm hearing, and please disabuse me of this if I'm off, is that in conjunction with the bollards, palm trees, you want some trees, and palm trees are basically what you got. And it sounds like they may even have some additional safety value. Is that correct?
No, they actually don't provide any safety value. They merely have a small enough root ball that they fit between the bollards that are properly spaced. They do have ceremonial value. They have value in continuing the streetscape that is in front of the historic synagogue and in tying the campus together holistically. So I don't want to leave you with the impression that the palm trees are just, what we could get. They're a very deliberate and intentional addition. We would include a shade tree if we could. So I just wanted to say that we're not providing a palm tree in lieu of a shade tree. The shade trees just don't work with our bollard layout.
And then again, the red buds in elevated planters, those will go also on, they will also be on Wilshire in this, interacting with these things, correct?
That's correct.
So we actually will have shade trees on Wilshire, just not in what is effectively like not as close to the curb.
Well, they actually will be along the curb and will be shading the sidewalk. So the reason that the Western redbuds work in a planter, they are a smaller size, and the planter will keep them a smaller size, but that's also a reason to raise them up so that even though they are a smaller size, they will have the ability to provide shade on the sidewalk. And the reason we can't have them in the ground is the same reason we can't have the jacarandas. It's incompatible root structure with the bollards. So by putting them in a planter, we necessarily keep them smaller and keep their root structure contained, but we can also have the planter function, and we've engineered the setup so that the bollards have a deterrent effect, the planters have a deterrent effect as well.
Well, I was wondering, it seems like the planters could actually be helpful from a safety standpoint.
And they are.
What will they be made of? What will the planters be made of?
They're concrete.
They're concrete. Okay. And then the trees on Hobart, well, the 5 mesquite. So those are 48-inch. That's great. And will these be in planters, or will they be?
They're planted in the ground.
They're going to be in the ground. Okay. Okay. Great. How soon will those be planted? Just out of curiosity.
As soon as the heat subsides a little bit and the smoke gets better. We need an approval from Public Works for moving forward, but we are ready to move forward with the street improvement.
Okay.
The project is scheduled to be complete by the end of the year.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you to members of the public. Thank you to the Wilshire K-Town Neighborhood Council. Thank you, Rabbi Letter. Thank you, Mr. Rod. Thank you, Mr. Winter, for joining us today. I also want to again thank Jamie Wang for joining us. I don't know if you're still with us, Jamie, but it's good to hear you, though I can't really see you. Thank you for joining us and providing your input, the council offices, the council members' input. Look, I would just, I would like to provide a couple of thoughts. One is, I don't think there's any point, nor do I hear from anyone involved in this deliberation, the effort to minimize the import of trees, and specifically shade, and particularly in low canopy areas where you don't have adequate green space, where you don't have adequate parks. I don't think there's ever been a moment, well, there's been lots of moments, but where that has been more fully crystallized than right now, as we see heightened capture of particulate matter in our atmosphere, and heightened heat levels contributing to the acceleration of these fires, and though they are far from us, impacting our air quality in such a dramatic, profound, and deleterious way. So that's real. And again, Ms. D'Antonio, Wilshire K-Town Neighborhood Council, members of the public who have spoken to that, I am, and I believe this board is, in full agreement on the absolute critical nature of our shade and our trees. I think it has also, we have a convergence here of that existential crisis with another, and that is hatred, that is, simply put, white nationalism and authoritarianism, and the purple pain of cruelty that leads people to do things that are simply unpredictable. And the threat to Wilshire Temple has clearly been real and been tangible and palpable, and it's an absolute shame y'all, like anybody in this city with dealing with hate, have to deal with that. And what I see here is a reasonable sweet spot. I am encouraged by the net effect of having not just a 2-to-1 replacement, but an 18-to-3 replacement. So that puts us at
5-to-1.
Yeah, 5-to-1. Thank you. I mentioned Fred Flintstone, particularly in math. And so even with the Palms, we're still over our 2-to-1 replacement requirement, and I think that that's meaningful. I think that the planters speak to a desire, a meaningful desire, a meaningful effort to absolutely maximize that shade on Wilshire and the replacement of that shade. And so I'm very encouraged by those efforts, and frankly also appreciate the rabbi's efforts at outreach, and trust and hope that the temple will continue working with the neighborhood council and with the neighborhood. It sounds like that is how you roll. That's how they roll, and I encourage that to continue as the project moves forward. With that, I appreciate everything that's come to the floor, and would entertain a motion to approve this report moving forward.
I'll make that motion, Mr. President, and I do want to say that I agree with everything you're saying as it relates to the process of making sure we communicate effectively. I think Commissioner Villegas raised the issue with the various neighborhood groups, and yet at the same time, I want to first of all say that I am a fan of the palm tree, even though it doesn't provide a canopy, because I think that the palm tree brings a certain kind of image to tropical areas like Los Angeles, California, and other tropical areas around the country. And so we think fondly when we see palm trees. So this is a case where we can't use trees, but yet the space is an available space for such a time as a palm tree. Because, again, not only the rooting, but the image that it provides for Los Angeles. People think of, a tropical beach area like Los Angeles when they think of palm trees. They think about Florida too. But also, more seriously, let me say that the time socially that we're in, a country that is oftentimes more recently been characterized by the polarization of different racial attitudes, the examples that we have not only heard about, but that we have seen of racism that is absolutely real. You would have had to have your head buried in the sand not to have seen what we have seen over the last couple of years. And so, government process notwithstanding, our top priority in government always has to be public safety. So for that reason, Mr. President, I will strongly support this proposal because that is the reality that we find ourselves in today.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Do I have a second?
I wanted to second, but I just wanted to put either, and I think I'm going to need some comments from our city attorney. Hi, Ted. I finally found you. Scrolling through all the familiar faces on here, I just wanted to, I'm not sure whether this should be an addendum or whether it should be just listed as a recommendation. One thing that I'm concerned about is just the notice in terms of, groups, just coming forward. And I realize that we're living in COVID situation, but is there any way for us just to direct, Streets LA to work with neighborhood councils, our Sustainability Alliance, just on the process in terms of just having a better communication on projects like this, as, sometimes they get their notices maybe a year, in maybe a year prior to coming to our board, and they may not remember, or some things may change, and I'm not sure how to whereabouts we can either address this. If it should be an amendment or it should just be a recommendation.
Well, I don't think it needs to be part of this particular action. I think this action be adopted as it is. If you want to maybe in a separate meeting have the Bureau present to the board all of the various manners or means with which it provides notice to people, council offices, CFAC, whoever. That might be a good topic for separate consideration by the board, so that we don't keep on hearing this same issue. But in some instances, the Bureau has done everything it is, well, maybe most instances, it's done everything it is supposed to do, and it's beyond the Bureau's control as to how quickly those folks, take action on those items. And also in this particular case, there was an EIR for this adopted years ago. Correct. That talked about replacing the street trees. And the reality is these things have consequences, and at the time the EIR was being considered, that was really the time for some of these issues to be raised. Not now when they're on the eve of completing the project. So I think maybe as a separate item, you should consider bringing the Bureau back, not in the context of this particular project, although you can always use projects as sort of case studies, and then look at what recommendations can be made at that time.
Okay.
But not on this project.
Not on this project. That's why I wanted just to get your clarification. I'm not here to stick any wrench at the last hour. I just wanted clarification on that, and that is something that we can work with Streets LA. And you bring up a good point. This project was reviewed, and it did go through its formal process of delineation of any kind of obstacles or any kind of oppositions that the public would have, and they had that opportunity. I just wanted to emphasize more so just because, in the past, the public has received at least 72 hours notification of any board items, and now they're receiving about 24 hours. It's not the wherewithal, but I will work with Streets LA and with our neighborhood councils just on more notification, or the ability for us to provide more notification if it is at all possible. I do want to second that, though, Mike's or Dr. Davis's
motion.
Yeah,
Thank
motion.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
It's not a bill.
Okay, I know.
I will volley your recommendation back to you, Commissioner Villegas, to initiate conversation with Streets LA on and CFAC on and the Sustainability Alliance, the Neighborhood Council, on how I think we're in one of those interesting places where everyone's doing all that they're required to do, and then still we may have ways that we can improve that process. And so I think that would be a very healthy and appropriate conversation for you to initiate with Streets LA, and we can figure out best steps forward. Thank you for that. Okay, so I've got a motion from President Pro Tem Davis to move this item forward, with a second from Commissioner Villegas. Do I have any objections, Vice President Garcia?
No objections, thank you.
Okay. Any objections or questions, Commissioner Caloza?
I would also like to second, and I just wanted to just make a quick and share this additional information, since I had asked the question about a prior action that City Council had taken. Andrew Choi, who's on the Mayor's Chief Procurement team, actually looked up the council file as we were in the middle of talking and sent it to me. I sent it to Streets LA, and they did pass something in the past administration. It was passed in 2006 that recommended and requested street services to limit the use of the palm trees. So I just wanted to quickly clarify that for the record, that it was a request and a recommendation and not a mandate. And I second. Thank you.
Quick work, Commissioner Colosa, thank you. All right, so hearing no objections, this item is approved forthwith.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, colleagues, let's go back now to item 3. Item 3 on today's agenda is CD 14. This is revised construction orders, change orders, and budget increase, super expedited wastewater emergency rehabilitation sewers program, Los Angeles Street 200 project. Recommending the board authorize a revised construction budget of $285,000, including contingency for the super expedited wastewater emergency rehabilitation for sewers program, Los Angeles Street 200 project, and to authorize the city engineer to issue revised construction orders and change orders for up to the authorized revised construction budget for this project. WOSCZC 13920 and then C-130393. Please note that the mayor's office, colleagues, has exempted emergency sewer projects from the cost containment process, and so just have that in your back pocket in terms of this conversation. And George Wang is with us this morning to present on this item. Mr. Wang?
Thank you. Good morning. Can everyone hear me?
We can hear you, but we can't see you. Or I can't see you. Can anyone see him?
No, I'm sorry. I'm calling from the office, and we don't have a camera here. But I'll introduce myself. So good morning, President Good and Commissioners. My name is George Huang, and I'm from the Bureau of Engineering with the Wastewater Conveyance Construction Division. The item being considered today is to ask for the board's authorization to revise the construction budget of $285,000, including contingency for the Los Angeles Street 200 project. We're also asking for the authority for the city engineer to issue revised construction orders up to this new authorized construction budget. So a little background, on October 18th, 2017, the board awarded 3 identical sewers contract. Sewers is a program within the BOE here. It stands for Super Expedited Wastewater Emergency Rehabilitation for Sewers. And we issued 3 identical contracts, and for the lowest bid price contractors to take on these projects. And currently, the ceiling at the time the sewers contract was established was at $30 million. On April 14th, 2020, the board approved to increase the sewers contract budget ceiling to $43 million with no change to the terms and conditions of the contract. The intent of the sewers contract is to expedite the repairs of sewer infrastructure that's identified by the Bureau of Sanitation, or LASAN, The sewers program itself is in the 6th contract since its inception in 2013. For each construction order that's issued, the city engineer typically selects the contractor with the lowest quantity takeoff. The city engineer has the authority to issue construction orders for a total cost up to $150,000. Any cost that exceeds that amount will require the board authority. So regarding the Los Angeles 200 project, we received a request from LASAN that identified multiple cracks and broken pipe within the sewer main, along with some protruding laterals and house connections. As a result of that, this project is located between 2nd Street and 3rd Street. The existing is a 16-inch vitrified clay pipe sewer line, approximately 262 linear feet in length and approximately 14 feet in depth. The improvements on this work is to remodel a maintenance hole, channel base at the upstream side, and rehabilitate the entire reach with a structural liner in order to address the multiple cracks in the sewer reach. And also, it's to restore the house connections after the lining work is completed and install 8 top hats. Top hats are inserts that we put in at the Y connection to reinforce the connections between the lateral and the sewer main line. Based on the scheduled work and prices, this project was awarded to Tomovich, which was the lowest bidder, which was $122,350. The reason for coming to the board today with this budget was initially, this project is located on a street of significance that's identified by the Transit and Transportation Construction Traffic Management Committee, also known as the TCTMC. To get approval to work here, the TCTMC had requested that we provide traffic control plans and submit them through LADOT to be reviewed and approved. In order to get the traffic control plans approved, we had to bring on board the sewer contractor to hire a firm to prepare the traffic control plans. At the time we did the TCTMC after review, as a requirement of approval for this work, required the work be performed at the nighttime hours, between 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. And as a result of that, the sewers contract requires work at night. We have to apply a difficulty factor, which increased the cost to beyond 150. Seeing the urgency of this request as part of the sewer program, we have proceeded with doing the lining work, which the work was done below 150. And before we proceed with the remaining work, which is to install the top hats on the project, we're coming to the board to get your approval to proceed with this work during the nighttime. That is the reason that we segregated this work, and we would like the board to consider this budget of $285,000 so we can complete the remaining portion of this sewer rehabilitation. With that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Wong. Colleagues, do we have questions or comments? Vice President Garcia?
Thank you, President Good. None at this time. Thank you.
Okay. President Pro Tem Davis?
None for me on this item.
All right. Commissioner Villegas?
I have no questions either. Thank you.
All right. And then Commissioner Calosa?
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Okay. Poor George Wong, no questions to answer. I will just, less question, more comment. It's striking, though probably unavoidable, that it literally almost costs, almost doubles the cost to do the work at night versus during the day. It's a small project, but at least striking to me, maybe to no one else. But thank you for the presentation. So do I have a motion to move this item forward?
I'll move.
Second.
I'll second that.
All right. So Commissioner Calosa has motioned to move the item forward with seconds from President Pro Tem Davis and Commissioner Villegas. Any concerns or questions or objections, Vice President Garcia?
No objections. Thank you.
All right. Hearing no objections, and again, we believe this is exempted from the cost containment process because it is an emergency sewer repair. This item is moved forward forthwith. Thank you, Mr. Wong.
Thank you very much.
All right. Next item, ladies and gentlemen. This is in CD6. This is Financing Agreement, U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, Water Infrastructure Finance and Innovation Act Program, Donald C. Tillman Water Reclamation Plant Advanced Water Purification Facility Project. Recommending the board approve and forward this report with its transmittals to the City Council and Mayor with the recommendation that the City Council, subject to concurrence of the Mayor, authorize the Director of the Bureau of Sanitation or designee to accept, negotiate, execute, and submit all documents, including but not limited to applications, agreements, and amendments, subject to the approval of the City Attorney as to form, which may be necessary to secure a financing agreement for the Donald C. Tillman Water Reclamation Plant Advanced Water Purification Facility Project from U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's Water Infrastructure Finance and Innovation Act Program. Okay, so here with us today, Rowena Lau. Hi, Rowena.
Hi, good morning. My name is Rowena Lau. I'm from LA Sanitation, the Centralized Grants Unit, and I'm here today with the project manager, Ryan Tihal. LA San is requesting the board's approval to accept, negotiate, and execute a financing agreement with the U.S. EPA for the Water Infrastructure Finance and Innovation Act Program, or the WIFIA program, for the Donald C. Tillman Water Reclamation Plant Advanced Water Purification Facility Project, or the AWPF. WIFIA is a federal credit program for eligible water and wastewater infrastructure projects. WIFIA can fund up to a maximum of 49% of eligible project costs with a 35-year maximum final maturity date from the completion of the project. The interest rate will be equal or greater to the U.S. Treasury rate of a similar maturity, which usually ranges between 3.14% to 3.9%. LA San is currently applying for the WIFIA loan for the Donald C. Tillman Water Reclamation Plant, AWPF, at 49% of the total project costs, which amounts to $386 million. The project has three components, including the AWPF treatment train, a maintenance facility, and a primary equalization tank. This project will produce approximately 15.5 million gallons per day of purified water in its phase 1 portion of the project. The ultimate goal is to, with future expansions, is to produce up to 31.1 million gallons of purified water a day. The total loan amount may change depending on the availability of federal funding, but at this time we have applied for $190 million, including the application and capitalization costs. It is estimated that the WIFIA loan will provide approximately $44 million in present value savings to the city compared to selling bonds for this project. The project will be front-funded by the Sewer Construction and Maintenance Fund, and therefore we request the board to move forward with this WIFIA loan. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lau. Colin, I'm sorry, real quick, Ms. Lau, how much did you say we anticipate the savings to be?
44 million.
Okay, thank you. All right, Vice President Garcia, any questions or comments?
Thank you, President Good. I thank you for that work that has been put into this project, especially the cost savings of, did you say 44 million? That's really good. Was that the right amount, 44
yes,
million?
That's correct.
Okay. I just wanted clarification. So this cost savings piece, is it a grant? Is it, and I'm sorry if you have it here and I didn't read it, is it a grant or is it coming from some other kind of fund?
So this is a loan that we're applying for, the WIFIA loan, and so the savings comes from the interest savings that we will save versus selling bonds.
Okay, that makes it clear. Thank you very much for that. Okay, that's all for me.
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. President Pro Tem Davis.
None for me on this item.
Okay. Commissioner Colosa.
Thank you, President Good. Hi, Rowena, nice to see you again.
Hi.
I had a quick question. Is this a follow-up from the item that we approved last year where you guys were applying for this loan with the federal government for WIFIA. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yes, that is correct. So previously, we came to board to request for the approval of an AE, and that is to pay for the application fee and also any of the review fees for the application. And so this time, we are requesting to actually move forward with the negotiations and execution of the loan agreement.
Okay, so two quick questions for me on that. I remember this item from last year. Can you remind me again what the cost of the application fee was again?
The cost of the application fee itself is $100,000, and the AE was requested for $800,000 because WIFIA does require to hire outside consultants to review the application, so it would be up to $800,000.
I see. Do you anticipate using $800,000 worth of consultation?
I think in general so far, WIFIA has mentioned they've charged other municipalities around up to $300,000, but it could go up to $800,000.
Okay. And then where we are in the process, so to confirm, we're receiving the loan. The application that you guys submitted last year, because I remember when you guys were at board, we were unsure. We're pretty sure, but we were not 100% sure that we would actually get the WIFIA loan, and now we actually have the green light, and that's what's before us today. Am I understanding that correctly?
It's not we don't have a formal green light yet. They're still in the review process to negotiate the details, for example, the interest rate and also all the terms and conditions. But we do need to have board approval prior to being able to move forward with this process.
I see. Okay, and when would we find out if when we would get the loan, if we get the loan?
So right now our goal is most likely the beginning of next year.
Got it. Thank you for the additional context. I don't have any additional questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Closa. Commissioner Villegas.
Thank you, President Good. And thank you, Rowena, for the thorough explanation of the program. I appreciate it. It seems like it's obviously in line with our mayor's directive for the Green New Deal and just getting us off, 100% recyclable water. I'm wondering, you said that this is an EPA grant?
It's
EPA loan, excuse me. So it's an EPA loan, but do you know how many people, and this isn't necessarily in the board letter, and you don't necessarily need to know this, but how many people apply for this type of loan? What's our chances of getting the loan?
I don't know how many people applied for the loan, but in 2018 we applied once and we got denied. We applied, take that back. 2017 we applied and that one we got denied. But for 2018, that was when we were requested to submit in an application. So it is a competitive process, but I don't really know how many people applied.
Okay. And then once we get this loan, how close are we to be able to, in terms of like a pie chart, what's the total price tag for being 100% recyclable? Like, is this like getting us at 50% or what's the accounting? Do you know?
Ryan, do you know that answer?
Yes, good morning. This is Ryan. I'm the Assistant Division Manager at Water Reclamation Division of the LA Sand. So the way the scope is written right now, we're trying to reclaim up to 19.5 MGD coming into Donald C. Tillman. So coming out is 15.5 MGD of purified water. However, the Tillman is designed to be able to take in up to 80 MGD of wastewater flow. So, this is just a first step of the many steps that we're trying to make. So in the next phase, our goal is to expand the capacity. However, we do have to do a lot of hydraulic modifications in the sewer system in order for us to be able to fully achieve the potentials of recycling at Tillman.
Okay, that's helpful. I appreciate it. I don't have any more questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. I don't really have any questions. This is a giant project. It would be an incredible win for the city to actually to get this loan. And so certainly wish, and I remember when we didn't get it in 2017. So with that, I would move to approve this item. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right. Any objections, President Pro Tem Davis?
None at all. Supportive. I can second it.
All right. I have a second from Commissioner Villegas and a second from President Pro Tem Davis. Vice President Garcia?
No, not at all. I'm fully supported as well.
Thank you. And then Commissioner Closa?
No objections, thank you.
All right. Hearing no objections, this item is approved forthwith. Thank you so much, Ms. Moore.
Thank you.
Wow, I'm sorry. Thank you so much for being. Nice background. Okay, so our next item, colleagues, item number 5 is in CD 11. This is a purchase order, Siemens Flender Gearbox Rebuild Kit, Hyperion Water Reclamation Plant. Recommending the board, 1, authorize the purchase of a Siemens Flender rebuild kit for an existing Siemens Flender gearbox installed on an Archimedes screw pump located at the intermediate pump station at the Hyperion Water Reclamation Plant with a maximum cost of $400,000, including taxes, shipping, and handling. And 2, authorize the director of the Bureau of Sanitation to request the Department of General Services to solicit bids, select the lowest and most responsive bidder that meets specifications, and create a one-time purchase order for the purchase of the aforementioned item, WOSZ H11966. With us today is Christopher Giacomo. Christopher, where are you at?
Here, sir. Good morning, President Good, Commissioners, and Bureau representatives. I'm Christopher Giacomo, Acting Sanitation Wastewater Manager at the Hyperion Water Reclamation Plant. I'm joined by Sherry Simons, Environmental Engineer, also of Hyperion. Today's report is requesting the Board of Public Works to authorize Department of General Services to solicit bids and select the lowest complying bidder to be issued a one-time purchase order for the purchase of a single major rebuild kit for this Siemens Flender gearbox. Hyperion treats approximately 260 million gallons per day, and is critical to continue plant operation is this intermediate pumping station. That is it's effectively a large lift station, sending primary effluent to the secondary treatment process. Without the lift provided by the IPS station, primary effluent would not continue to secondary treatment and be discharged into the Santa Monica Bay, causing potential National Pollution Discharge Elimination Standards permit non-compliance. The IPS facility has 10 pumps, 4 of which must remain online at all times. The pumps are the largest used for wastewater treatment application in the world and require powerful and robust 600 horsepower with gear reduction drivetrain system components. The pumps have been driven by the original gearboxes installed in 1995 and are reaching the end of their expected life cycle. Hyperion has experienced 1 gearbox failure, and maintenance predictive analysis has identified another 2 units that are going to require immediate attention. This observation caused Hyperion to schedule major overhaul or replacement for each unit. And this will be the 3rd gearbox addressed in said schedule, and is only requiring an overhaul with the renewal of all moving and wear items such as bearings and gears and shafts. All replacement and rebuild efforts have been and will continue to be performed by Hyperion maintenance staff. And this project's funding was previously approved by PRC and is available under the Sewer Construction Maintenance Capital Fund number 761. That kind of concludes my presentation.
All right. Thank you, Christopher. Colleagues, any questions or comments? I'll start with Commissioner Closa.
I don't have any questions, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Villegas?
I don't have any either, thank you.
Okay, thank you. President Pro Tem Davis.
I wanted to ask, the rebuild is probably a better tool for us here because the box is not totally useless, if you will. That the rebuild will help save us money in some regards as it relates to it. Is that correct?
Oh, correct. Even with the additional labor and rebuilding efforts, the gearbox's housing is extremely large and robust.
Sure.
It's housed indoors. It's not subject to the elements. We have purchased one complete in the past, but the intent of that one was to be an immediate replacement and have a spare that we could rebuild without removing other equipment from being available.
Sure. And how would be the extension of life that we give to the gearbox by the rebuild as a tool to have it continue to function?
It's virtually equivalent to new.
Wow, that's great. Because how much would a new one cost?
The last one we did was, I want to say, 130,000 additional, 130, 150.
Additional.
Yeah, throwing numbers out there, but yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Not double. It was just about, 33% more.
I see. I see. And still, we felt that this was the better option for us. Obviously, for policymakers, saving money is, but I also want to know what the industry thinking is in terms of the comparative analysis between either a rebuild or an investment in purchasing a new one, if in fact we look at the long-term usage of the gearbox overall. But it appears that this is our better choice because you've explained to me that the $400,000 does almost renew the usage of the box in terms of its lifespan. Is that correct?
100%. It's nearly all components outside of the housing. So
right. Great. Okay. Thank you so much for explaining.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Any questions, Vice President Garcia?
No questions. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Christopher. This all makes a ton of sense. Dr. Campos, I do believe this will be subject to the mayor's cost containment, no?
This is a procurement item, so no requirements. So it's only for contracts, correct?
Right. Okay. Great. Thank you. Okay. Do I have a motion to move this forward?
So move.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. Any objections, Commissioner Villegas?
No objections.
Any objections, Commissioner Colosa?
No objections.
All right, this item is approved forthwith. Thank you very much, Mr. Giacomo.
Thank you.
All right. Having heard item 6, we will now move, folks, to item 7. This is all council districts. This is a Public Works Trust Fund loan, regional procurement system, Compete for LA regional procurement portal. Recommending the board, 1, find that the requested loan proceeds will be deposited into the city's general fund number 100, Department 32, which interest earned is retained by the general fund and is also the same fund where interest earned in the Public Works Trust Fund number 834, Department 50, is transferred to on an interim basis. 2, approve the waiver of interest assessment. 3, authorize a new $577,460 loan from the Public Works Trust Fund, Fund 834, Department 50, to front fund licenses needed for the development and implementation of the Information Technology Agency Compete for LA Regional Procurement Portal with a repayment schedule of 3 years. 4, authorize the Board of Public Works Director of Accounting to transfer $577,460 from available funds within the Public Works Trust Fund number 834, Department number 50, to the General Fund number 100, Department 32, account 003040, contractual services. 5, authorize the reimbursement of funds from Los Angeles Business Assistance Virtual Network user fees, direct appropriation from the general fund, or other alternative sources as determined by the mayor and or city council based upon the completion of a fee study to be conducted by the City Attorney's Office with the assistance of the ITA and Chief Procurement Officer. And 6, authorize the Board of Public Works Executive Officer or designee to make any technical or accounting updates to the recommendations above to effectuate the intent of the Mayor and City Council. Joining us with the presentation, we have the City's Chief Procurement Officer, Sharon Hops. Hi, Sharon.
Good morning.
Along with our own Norman Tanada. Good morning, Norman.
Good morning.
All right, let it roll, y'all.
All right. Well, thank you. Norman, did you want to start or would you like me to?
Please do, and I'll follow up.
Okay. Well, again, good morning, Mr. President and Commissioners. Again, my name is Shannon Hoppus, and I'm the Chief Procurement Officer for the Mayor's Office of Budget and Innovation. I'm also joined here today by Andrew Choi of my team. He is leading the technology implementation and is available for questions depending on how deep we want to go on the phasing or any other details that we might want to explore. I did want to start out by thanking you for your consideration of extending the loan to this vital platform. I use the term often because it's most fitting. This is a labor of love, and it's been between the council offices, namely Council District 2, the Mayor's Office, the Board of Public Works, Contract Administration, EWDD, and really just citywide, as well as not without a lot of effort from the business, effort and support from the business community. And we really wouldn't be here if it weren't for that joint effort. So it is a foundational piece that is the entry point for our city's contracting and procurement opportunities, which represents approximately $4 billion of spend. So though this was slated to be funded for this fiscal year, it along with other projects lost funding amid the COVID crisis. But it was quickly found to be critical to both the success and recovery of our small businesses and local economy. So we did have everybody rally around this effort, and that is what has brought us here today. As a brief background, this platform is intended to replace our existing BAVN platform with the full build out of phases happening over the course of approximately 2.5 years. We are in the first phase, which is expected to be rolled out probably by the end of January. And I think what's exceptional and most timely about this build out is that it will contain a regional component, which means that this is actually going to allow for the private sector to post and solicit post their solicitations in this platform as well. So it's not only going to aggregate the entire city's contracting opportunities, but it will have the capacity to house sports and entertainment industries, banking industries opportunities as well. And I think what's interesting to note is they are all a part of the conversation right now. We have 2 separate task forces, one internally made up of city departments and end users, as well as an external task force that is made up of small businesses, large businesses, and again, those bigger agencies, again, back to sports and entertainment, AECOM, the Olympics. These are all being considered in the build out of this new platform. I will stop there in the event there are any questions.
Yes.
Real quick, President Davis, I'd love, Norman, do you have anything you want to say just relative to the Public Works Trust Fund?
Just wanted to provide a little background regarding the impact of this loan and to the fund itself. Good afternoon, President Good, Board Commissioners, City Attorney, and Executive Officer. Again, my name is Norman Tanada with the Board of Public Works Financial Management Section. As discussed earlier, if adopted by the Board, the Public Works Trust Fund will provide a $577,000 loan to front fund a portion of the total license fees needed for the development and implementation of the Compete for LA procurement portal. The loan repayment will be made within 3 years to be repaid by one or a combination of the following: LEBEV and user fees, direct appropriation from the general fund, and or other identified source. The impact to the general fund will be determined when the actual source of reimbursement is determined upon completion of a fee study to be completed by the Office of the City Administrative Officer with the assistance of ITA and the Chief Procurement Officer. The purpose of the fee study is to obtain a full or partial recovery for the replatforming, continuous development, and annual maintenance costs of the city's solicitation and regional procurement portal. Further, this report recommends not to assess interest on this loan request, since the loan proceeds will be deposited into the city's general fund, number 100, which interest earned is retained by the general fund and is also the same fund where interest earned from the Public Works Trust Fund is transferred on an interim basis. As of March 31st, pending loans in the Public Works Trust Fund had a total outstanding balance of $24.4 million. This consists of about 12 loans. As of the same time period, total deposits within the Public Works Trust Fund was $143 million. This equates to a 17.09 balance to loan ratio for dispersed loans from the Public Works Trust Fund. However, since then, the board approved 3 additional loans not dispersed as of March 31st in the amount of $14.4 million, which increases the total loans approved to 38.8 or 27.15%. Therefore, the aggregate total of loans not yet dispersed, including this request of $577,460 discussed in this report, is approximately $15 million. When taking this into consideration, the Public Works Trust Fund balance loan ratio increases to 27.56% or $39.4 million, still within the threshold of 30%. As you are aware, on July 17, 2020, the Board of Public Works approved a $75 million loan from the Public Works Trust Fund to provide emergency cash flow in response to the COVID-19 emergency pandemic and enable the receiving and dispersing of emergency relief funds. Therefore, the aggregate total of loans approved when including this loan is now $114.4 million or 80.01%. Therefore, based on some uncertainties and fiscal prudence, the Board of Public Works will continue to proceed with caution and will continue to work closely with the offices of the mayor, CEO, and other city departments for real-time and up-to-date reimbursement status, since timing will be critical during the next 18 months. And with that, either Shannon or I would like to address any questions you may have.
Thank you, Norman. Thank you, Shannon, very much. Really appreciate it. Colleagues, President Pro Tem Davis, it sounded like you had a question or thought.
Yes, sir. I do understand the request for funds, the $577,460. However, in terms of the BAVN virtual network user fees and the function, my understanding was that we are expanding the capacity of business opportunities as we engage in this new acquisition of a new system. And so my question to you is, will the new system also include not only just private interest, but will it also encompass, as you said, it was regional, would it then share some of the other government agency jobs within our region in this new database as we expand as well?
We are speaking to any and all that may be interested in participating. We've talked to MWD, to Metro, we've reached out to the county. So it will be any and all that would want to participate on this platform. And that is how CAO is trying to build out the fee study, is based on the potential interest and potential tiers. So we haven't seen that yet, but yes, this would be a space for any that would want to participate.
Wonderful. And so the fee study that you're doing, you said it's going to be conducted by the city attorney's office.
Yeah,
I believe CAO, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry about that. I noticed that as well. So I'm not sure if we need to make a technical correction, because you should read recommendation number 5, that the fee study will be conducted by the city administrative office.
Okay, good. And then in this fee study, what will the fee study give us? It'll tell us the variations, the variables of fees and how they should apply to users in different categories, or what will it tell us? Do we know structurally what we expect from the fee study, or what the purpose of the fee study should be able to tell us? Do we have an idea about that?
We have just given CAO the information they've requested to see what the possibilities are. Again, it would depend on the participation levels. It's really based on license agreements.
I see.
So it shouldn't be exceptional in terms of pricing. It's really going to come down to if another agency wants us to do any build out that's specific to their technology, then there would be a cost associated with that. But the licenses are really the main thing that any outside agency would need to purchase. So that is how they're seeming to be breaking down the fee structure right now, and then applying it across our proprietaries as well, our general funded, again, in addition to any of those that would want to be participating out on the outside.
Okay, and my final question is, by our expansion, what is our vision in terms of what we will be able to do that we're not able to do now?
Yes, it's a grand vision because it's finally going to be a platform that connects all of our disparate systems and actually gives us a holistic view of our procurement and contracting. So right now we are in the middle of wanting metrics and reports around participation and contracts, and we are finding it very difficult to provide those, or at least provide them quickly. That is the point of this system. It is to bring together the data in one place so we understand our spending better, we understand how we can leverage it across the city, we know where there's redundancies, we'll know even from the system, we will know when a user logs in to the platform from the beginning to the end. We will see where we might lose them. Is it maybe in the reading of the RFP? Is it overly complicated? We're going to start to finally get metrics around our contracting procurement so we can make better policy going forward. And the system really touches all of the initiatives that are very hot topics with us right now. And there's just been a need for this for quite some time, but I think the stars are finally aligning and we're going to make it happen.
Great. Thank you so much for this proposal.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. By the way, note that Melinda Bartlett up there has your palm trees in her background. Vice President Garcia, any questions?
I do. Thank you so much, President Good. And Shannon, nice to see you. Norman, it's good that you guys have been working on this. I'm a full fan of you guys. But I do have some logistical questions regarding the loan, specifically when it comes to our department. So I know we are asking for a little bit more than $500,000. Is this the total amount of the budget that you need?
No, it's not. This is being pieced together with the assistance of EWDD as well. As I mentioned, this was actually part of a bigger budget ask for this fiscal year. The goal was really to build out a procurement department with the platform being part of the technology that would be owned by the department. So when COVID hit, the department build out went by the wayside, but the technology was still critical, especially now as we are trying to ensure the success and bringing back our small businesses. So it was thought that this would just go ahead and be budgeted for next fiscal year, but there was a strong desire across the board to make it happen this fiscal year and begin the build out. So we are going to pay the loan back with the user fees, and we are going to start building the payback into the future budgets for this as well. So this is really just for the first phase.
You know what? No, it's frozen, but it said mute.
Sorry about that, Shannon.
Zoom interruption.
But this is really just funding the first phase of licenses. So and then it'll be an ongoing cost, and it'll have to be normalized in the budget. And that's why really the technology needs to be owned by a procurement agency, is because, you know, many of you know, Babin was created 20 some years ago, and it was a great technology for its time. It served an amazing use. But what happened is when the administration left, there was really no advocate for the technology. So it kind of got put to the side. You know, you had ITA trying to prop it up some, you had the board trying to prop it up some, but it wasn't really their sole responsibility per se, even though it really serves a citywide function. So that's really the goal of this, and housing it where we've proposed with, again, the ultimate need for the build out of the actual department, because when the administration leaves, it still needs the advocate for it to receive future funding. And that's what our role will be, is to ensure that the trust fund gets paid back and that the funding remains for future years.
Thank you. You actually answered both of my questions, which was how do we intend to pay this loan back? And given that this is a city-wide platform, and I understand it's an EWPT and is also contributing, and I think you said ITA is also contributing, if I'm not mistaken.
No, ITA isn't. They are providing programmers for it, though,
okay.
so they do, you know, contribute in
Service or
kind,
in kind.
in kind, yeah.
Okay,
But again, the fee study is going to show the breakdown of support that we'll get, which will include from the proprietaries. But really, for all intents and purposes, it should just be for their licenses, unless there's any further build out required for their operations. But it should be fairly straightforward since we're just dealing with licenses. But again, we haven't seen the full report yet.
Okay, well, I look forward to that as well. Can you come back maybe, you know, twice a year, or I don't want to say quarterly because time goes by really fast, but maybe, and you know, maybe my colleagues prefer, but maybe twice a year to keep us up to date where this is going, since we are, you know, contributing to the startup of this. And I don't know if we're the biggest contributors right now, but I'm glad that we are, and I'm glad that we're able to do it, and I'm glad that we still, and I have to say thank you to Fernando and Dr. Campos, Fernando, our presidents, the president's team, that we're able to have been so conservative and so good with keeping money and really keeping track of money and organizing the money, that we're able to loan out. At least we were able to make two loans this during the pandemic time, which, as you know, a lot of things we can't do that in many other areas. So thank you for that. And just so that you know, Shannon will be reaching out to you pretty soon, because we have an ad hoc meeting coming up. Davis and I have an upcoming planning meeting, and then we're gonna ask you to come on board. So that's all for me.
Happy to.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. Commissioner Villegas.
Hi, thank you, and good to meet you, Shannon. I thank you for the report, both you and Norman, for just giving us a little bit more context to this. I feel like this is a long time coming, something like this. Forgive me for saying it, but it should have been done a long time ago, just because the private industry is just a lot ahead. Obviously, then government, you know, we're still working on trying to take checks and credit cards, just instead of just cash, through our own systems over at Streets LA, which is a whole nother topic. So I like where this is going. I just have a couple of questions just for background purposes. Was the $577,460, was that originally a request to the general fund?
Yes, that was put in our original budget, and then was cut with.
Okay, along with the procurement department.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right. And then just for my educational purposes, procurement, where is it currently coming from? Who does that?
So interesting. Procurement actually, you'll have GSD. Tony Royster is our chief purchasing agent. That is strictly for commodities. You have Board of Public Works that manages many of the larger construction projects in addition to some of the other respective departments. However, services is handled across 40 plus different departments. So there's really no centralization of now our largest area of spend. There's a lack of transparency, consistency. There's a need for policy, technology in this space. So I had been in the mayor's office about 5-6 years ago, and like many of us have worked on procurement reform. And from that work, we had determined that we were the only city that did not have a chief procurement officer to oversee the whole of procurement. So we had benchmarked and pushed that recommendation, and a couple years ago we brought on our first chief procurement officer to start to piece all of these things together. He left shortly after a year and went on to the county. So we are taking off from where he left off, and that's really to build again this holistic system around procurement that is going to now gather the information from GSD, from 40 different departments, from Public Works, and really start to centralize at least the data so we can make good decisions around procurement.
Okay, and so this would be...
I'm sorry. I actually sit in the mayor's office currently. So this function currently sits in the mayor's office of budget and innovation, but that is why the push has been to make it a full department. So it withstands the next administration. So it is part of the fabric of the city, and that's what we've noted is a lot of good things have come and gone with various administrations, but this is really critical to the city's infrastructure. So the mayor was supportive of it, the council was supportive of it, but then it all just fell apart.
Okay. And so I don't want to belabor this much longer, but it seems like we have like two separate, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just interpreting what you're telling me. I think two separate functions. One is service oriented, and then one is nuts and bolts. And excuse for the simplest city, commodities or tangibles, right? And so would the tangibles be taken out of those departments that are currently doing that and put in this if we ultimately get a procurement department?
That would be left to be decided. Most agencies, especially of our size, do house procurement that way. It's not to say we couldn't be more of a hybrid, and that's what's been discussed. Really, and that's why we are creating the ability for the data, the centralization of the data first. So we can better understand it and make the case for the bigger procurement. See what we can't see today, and make the case for the build out, because you have even DWP, who their own procurement team is 300 plus. You have GSD, who's 300 plus, but when you come to the general fund and its service procurement functions, you have nothing, little to nothing. And the departments have little to nothing. They have no support in terms of understanding how to write RFPs, how to execute contracts. So that's why you have our vendors very frustrated, as they have a very different experience across the entire city, depending on who they choose to work with. So it's really us bringing all that together. And if we have the data, we could maybe keep this hybrid approach.
Okay, well, this is helpful information just for background purposes. One last question. Just in experiencing budgets and seeing budgets in the past, just from my work, it seems like a small amount to me, the 577. How many times will you come back to ask for more? And I excuse my boldness here, but it just, I'm used to seeing for these types of projects in the millions.
Right, right, and that's what we've tried to express and get literally the entire city to appreciate, is that when you build out these platforms and procurement infrastructures, it's in the multi-millions. We're doing it on a dime, literally, and only with the assistance of all of the participants that I mentioned earlier. But the goal is not to come back by any means. In fact, the original goal was never to come here in the first place. You know, it was to have us fund what the city rightfully and should take responsibility for. This is our area of responsibility. It's also a fiduciary responsibility. Right. So I don't think that case can't be made, especially to your point, for the cost of it. Even the cost of the build out of our department was only at $1 million. We were, you know, borrowing positions. We were just trying to create the infrastructure to start this. But you know, I think it's one of those platforms that people don't really understand the true value until you start to see it in play. And I think it will be able to. I know it will be able to sustain itself well past this.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's all for me for now. Good to meet you.
You too.
Commissioner Calosa.
Thank you, President Good. I don't have any questions for Ms. Hopez. You know, just nice to see you. I'm a huge fan of the Chief Procurement team and, of course, your entire team, including Mr. Choi, and thank you to Mr. Tanada for his explanation on all of our financials with the Public Works Trust Fund. I know it is a beast to tackle in terms of trying to make sure that we're as conservative as possible, but at the same time it allows us to really advance these types of projects that are a much longer term investment in our infrastructure. And I think this is so exciting because of all the reasons my colleagues stated, and also because it touches on so many goals that we have right now as a city, from the racial equity piece to the job creation piece to just, you know, what are we going to have the biggest return for our investment on. And I truly think that the work that Shannon and her entire team have been pushing the city to do is really going to create that transformation that has been a long time coming, and one that is going to be really critical to our city recovering. So I have no questions other than I'm really excited for this. I'm so excited to support this today, and I can't wait to see the fruits of your labor. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners, colleagues. Shannon and Andrew, just a couple of clarifying questions. And forgive me if we've danced around this, but I just want to have a clear picture of the vision. So the blue sky here is a platform that replaces Babin, that would have solicitations from City of Los Angeles, County X, City Y, Company Z, all in one universe. And so as a potential contractor of services, I would be able to basically shop my opportunities throughout this platform. Meanwhile, the data on sort of a much more procurement writ large would become available to inform process moving forward. Is that a fair characterization?
That's correct, very much so. And I think what's also important to note is it's actually going to be built out to create vendor profiles. So what happens right now is vendors have to do the same paperwork over and over if they choose to work with different departments. We are going to create a vendor profile so they update their forms in one place. They start maybe even following certain contractors because they want to partner with them. We're creating the ability for us to improve our business inclusion program, where we create in the system the ability for there to be some more matchmaking done, some more meaningful matchmaking done is what we've gotten back from the subcontractors. So this really is, we've been told it's a unicorn, and it is, but we are going to build it, and we're really excited about it, and we know where we can take it. And Andrew, do you want to say anything, because this is, you know, near and dear to you? And
thank you. And just briefly, as Shannon mentioned, it is a business-to-business perspective in terms of developing communication and layers. The business profile will not only house the business information, but the certification as well. And also house certification from other agencies, which seems to be one of the biggest points of pain points that the business community had indicated, that they need to get small business certification from, even within the city, the LAWA, DWP, POLA, and the city, we collectively all have different definitions right now. And having a single portal that can house all that information and then shop to private sector businesses for them to say, I would like to use a small business in the LA region, they'll have a single place portal where they can identify and find businesses as such. Additionally, Mr. President, the blue sky that we're seeing right now is that we are building not only an end-to-end solicitation platform, but an end-to-end procurement platform where we'll be able to digitize our entire procurement process, not only for services, but also construction, excuse me. So the two largest spends outside of human resources is construction and service contracts, and it will be housed in a single system. So when this body would like to ask for reports, we can generate those reports out of a single system.
That's great. And then presumptively, thank you, Andrew. And then presumptively, part of that, or maybe the sort of flip of the script on a point you made, Shannon, is in gathering data. I mean, certainly one thing that I have grown cognizant of, I think y'all certainly are intimate with, is the sort of atomization of all of our procurement, and an outcome being, an unfortunate outcome being, Department X contracting with vendor A, Department Y contracting with vendor A, Department Z contracting with vendor A, and the city realizing zero efficiencies, zero economies of scale, et cetera, that would be available to us if we had a streamlined, data-driven process that also provides any procurement a complete, holistic picture of what we're doing with who. Fair?
Exactly. Yes, we lose a lot of opportunity, and there's a lot of redundancy and frustration with our line staff doing these procurements. They, you know, oftentimes there's an existing contract that they can either use or they can get assistance with, and right now we just don't have that visibility into the contract. We don't have a full contract database. We
don't even know it's there, right?
What?
Don't even know it's there. The data of the contract exists. Yeah.
No, and it's loosely held in the city clerk's database, but that's on a very limited basis. So this is, and one of the bigger things that we're really focused on is I think it's the last phase, and that starts to get into the payments and ensuring that the payments are actually made to our subcontractors. So that was an issue when I worked on the last iteration of BAVN with then Commissioner Rodriguez. And, you know, the concern the board had around ensuring that the subs were actually paid. So this system is going to be built out with that intention, which will also include addressing the policies as we build out the system. So there's a lot of simultaneous policy discussion happening as well, which is all good and timely, and there's a lot of excitement about it. You know, you would expect there to be a resistance around this, but there's not. There's a lot of excitement and hope that we're going to do something different, and that's what motivates us.
That's exciting. That's really exciting. And while I'm, like all of us, always reticent to touch the Public Works Trust Fund, not when it makes sense and can be helpful in moving the needle in a way that's real bang for the buck, I think. So, yeah, this feels like an example of that. Commissioners, any follow-up questions or comments, or do I have alternatively a motion to move this item forward? All right, I've got, I think President Garcia beat you to the punch, Commissioner Close, but I'm going to take that as a second, and then ask President Pro Tem Davis if you've got any objections or concerns.
Yeah, I will second that.
All right, we got 2 seconds. Then Commissioner Villegas, any questions or concerns?
I'll second as well.
And we
so
got
it can be unanimous.
Another second. I don't know that I even can. I will simply say with no objections.
President Good. Just a President Good minor clarification. As
Ted, you blew up all the.
I know I did. Sorry about
No,
that.
we were almost there.
I thought it was going to be
My office.
everyone on the motion.
My office. As was pointed out, the agenda talked about there being a fee study conducted by the city attorney's office. The report itself indicates that it's the CAO. So I suspect someone, when putting together the agenda, thought CAO meant city attorney's office rather than city administrative officer. So just for clarification.
Okay.
The fee study is conducted by the CAO, not the city attorney's office. So I'm sorry to disrupt your very good flow of approval.
Our feel-good moment.
On that city attorney.
And we will make that correction on the journal, Mr. Attorney.
I see that.
Thank you.
Thank you actually for flagging that. That is actually strange. So I'm going to second that motion. We have 4 seconds on Vice President Garcia's motion to move this forward. We have the elegant wisdom of Ted Jordan helping to make sure it's tight as can be, and hearing no objections, this item is approved forthwith.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Norman, very much. Y'all have great days. Okay, good luck. Looking forward to it. Okay, colleagues, let's move on to item number 8. This is CD14, and this is the Bureau of Sanitation and or LASAN and Office of Community Beautification. It's a contract amendment and budget increase. Los Angeles Conservation Corps, California Natural Resources Green Infrastructure Grant, Boyle Heights Green Alley Project. Recommending the board, 1, direct the Office of Community Beautification to amend the contract with the Los Angeles Conservation Corps to increase the contract ceiling by $1,380,576 and authorize additional project work for tree well creation, tree planting and maintenance work, and outreach materials for the Boyle Heights California Natural Resources Green Infrastructure Grant, known as the Boyle Heights Green Alley Project, bringing the total contract amount to $1,995,000 for the project. Execute the contract amendment, and two, execute the contract amendment after the city attorney has approved the contract as to form and content. C 124509. This would be subject to the mayor's cost containment process. Although this is all grant money, correct? So
this is grant funding, yes.
So then Dr. Campos, I'm not sure this would be subject, correct? Yeah, if this is grant money.
Mr. President, this is still subject to the mayor's approval for cost containment since we are increasing the budget ceiling on an existing contract. So it is a contract amendment.
That's right. Okay. Thank you for that clarification. So this would still be subject to the cost containment memo. That said, we love money, and we have Paul Roch, Director of the Office of Community Beautification, teamed up with the mavens of the urban forest from sanitation, Amy Schoenberg and Melinda Bartlett, with us. And so y'all tell us about this really exciting project.
Real quick, yeah, Paul Roch, Director of the Office of Community Beautification. This is a request to amend an OCB contract. The project is a grant project from Bureau of Sanitation, led by Melinda and Amy. I believe they're both on the line, and they really are the ones that would be able to address the specifics of the project. So I will let them discuss it.
Okay. Thank you, Amy and Melinda.
All right. Good afternoon, President Good and Commissioners. I'm actually going to turn this over to Amy because she knows all the details, but this is really a great opportunity for Boyle Heights, and we're really excited to talk about this grant and to get the contract amended. All right, Amy, all yours.
Thank you, Melinda. So good afternoon, President Good, Commissioners of Public Works, and Bureau representatives. I'm Amy Schulenberg with LA Sanitation and Environment, here today to talk to you again about our Boyle Heights Green Alley project. This is the second time we've come to you to discuss the contract amendment for this project and to provide a little bit of background for that. I'm going to give you just a little bit of details to remind you of the project itself. So in June 2019, an application went in from LA Sanitation and Environment for a green alley and tree planting project in Boyle Heights. In September, the state came out to do the site inspection. And after that site inspection, decided to go ahead with just the tree planting portion of that project. Then in March 9th, the state awarded us, instead of the $715,000 we had asked for 500 trees, awarded us $2.265 million and asked us to expand the scope of work for the tree planting in Boyle Heights.
Amy, can I interrupt 1 second?
Sure.
Can we all pause? I almost want to have you restate that again. These are moments that we should embrace.
Right? Yes. We had the amazing moment where the state called and said, not only are we awarding you this grant, but we are going to give you basically triple what you asked for.
Even though y'all had already briefed me, I literally reread it in the report, so I just had to comment on it. So go ahead, I apologize.
Excellent. No, thank you. It is a great, great thing. But being the city, there was slight complications. That was March 9th. March 11th was our originally scheduled date to come to board and discuss this project with you for the contract amendment for the original smaller amount. So that was just 2 days apart. So we didn't have time at that point to update all the paperwork that brings a project to board for review. So we are now trying to catch up with that larger amount of the contract, for the contract that was awarded by the state for this project. And to refresh your memories, this is now 1,400 trees, all in Boyle Heights. We'll create 500 new tree wells. So that's taking the concrete out of the area between the sidewalk and the curb and creating new places to plant trees, as well as watering all the trees for the maximum time allowed on the grant. Greg, you have a comment? Okay. We're really excited about this project. It's really doing an intense greening in a particular neighborhood that really has a lot of impacts from environmental issues there. It's going to make a big difference in the neighborhood, and we're really, really proud of this project and excited to get started on it. The Los Angeles Conservation Corps will be doing all the work on this project, as that was part of the criteria that did help the state award the grant to us. And we talked to Los Angeles Conservation Corps. We actually do have 7 local hire from Boyle Heights area that will be working on this project in their own neighborhood as Corps members. So we love that also, that we're hiring local youth, giving them job training, and it's all right in their own backyard, literally. If there's any questions, I can answer. This has gone to council twice as well. First January 29th, and then second on April 7th for approval to accept and authorize this project. Are there any questions I can help with today? Oh, Greg, I think you're on mute.
Losing my mind. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Melinda. Thank you, Paul. Vice President Garcia, any questions?
Not specific questions, more of a praise and congratulations. I'm a big fan of grants and that whole process. So congratulations. It's a big deal when they call us and give us more money. Yay. We hope to get those calls all the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. President Pro Tem Davis.
Yes, I want to say that I think that it's a great project, and I think that certainly we need to have more of this in various areas of the city. And in particular, I'm very pleased to see the hiring of young people from the very community that's going to be of benefit. I think that this model is one that should be duplicated in other desolate areas where we do need to have more tree planting and more involvement and awareness and participation from the community and the work that we're leading here in the city. So I think that, Amy, this is a great project and a great model for what we can do in other areas throughout the city.
Yes, absolutely.
Commissioner Villegas.
I have no questions. I'm glad that you're all working with the LA Conservation Corps. You know, a lot of good history there with them. So I think that also helped contribute to the decision from the state, since Bruce comes from LA Conservation Corps. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Is the Conservation Corps here on the call?
I don't believe they are.
I don't think so.
I will add in also, as part of our community outreach, we have been talking to various community groups. One connection we had was with USC has the medical complex there, the campus, the Keck Health Complex. We've been talking with the Vice President of Community Relations there, and when we discussed the Corps and that we had the local hire, he's now interested in helping talk to the Corps to see how they can provide a pathway for Corps members to start getting jobs at and with USC as well at the campus. So that was really great because it all was sort of pulling all of that, again, local connections together on this project.
Who were you talking to at the...
David Galvez,
my husband.
Is it? Oh, he's so nice. He's so great.
That's what I thought. Small world.
Nice to know. Thank you. Please send them my regards. And I'm still he was the one that made that offer and suggestion to try to make the connections. So I'm really, really excited for that. Thank you.
That's great.
Yeah.
Commissioner Closa.
Well, I don't have any questions, but I want to echo the praise that my colleagues have given to OCB and LA Sanitation for your work on this. I don't think I've ever seen this happen before. It's a huge compliment. I think you guys should put a press release together and tell everybody that this happened because it's truly remarkable that you guys asked for under $1 million and now you have over over $2 million for this type of investment in Boyle Heights, which I know that is badly needed to plant more trees in that neighborhood. So it's really exciting and just congratulations. You guys should be proud.
Thank you so much.
All right, agreed very much. And yeah, thank you to the Conservation Corps for their good work. Will be great work and their ongoing extensive and comprehensive partnership. So if y'all can share that, Amy and Melinda and Paul, that would be great. Okay, so I will take the liberty of motioning to move this item forward as amended, subject to the mayor's cost containment process. Do I have a second to my motion?
Second.
Vice President Garcia, hit the button first. Do I have any objections? President Pro Tem Davis?
None from me, no objections.
All right, Commissioner Caloza?
No objections.
Any objections, Commissioner Villegas?
None from me, thank you.
All right. So hearing no objections, the item is moved forthwith. Good luck and look forward to seeing y'all back.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
All of you, thank you. Okay. So, colleagues, that brings us to item number 9. This is for all council districts, and this is a request for proposal for heavy haul transportation services, recommending the board, 1, authorize the director of the Bureau of Street Services to A, issue and release the RFP for heavy haul transportation services, B, waive the business inclusion program requirements for this RFP for reasons discussed in this report, C, evaluate the RFP submissions based on the criteria set forth in the RFP, and select and interview the most qualified proposers who submits the best and most responsive proposal. D, negotiate a personal services contract with the selected and recommended proposers subsequent to objective review of all proposals received. And 2, direct the director of the Bureau of Street Services to return back to the board for authority to award and execute the negotiated contract with a term period sufficient to complete the proposed project. John Sapone from I believe from BC or from BSS. No, from BCA. No, from BSS is with us today. I see Monica Shelton Pearson is here as well. Good afternoon at this point, and please tell us a little more.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so basically you did a great intro for us. So basically what we're doing is we're trying to put out an RFP for the heavy hauling transportation services. And basically Streets LA, we intend to issue this for as needed services to provide this specialized haul transportation service. And what that involves is it's heavy equipment. There's a cold in place recycler machine as well as a pavement milling machine. And one of the machines, the cold in place, it weighs about 117,000 pounds, and the other paving milling machine weighs about 97,000 pounds. And we went through the 1022 process, and it was determined that even though the Streets LA, we just do not have the required 9-axle trailer to perform the hauling operations. And for this reason, heavy-duty truck operators, even though those would be the ones that could possibly do part of this work, we just don't have the resources to complete the full scope without actually putting it out to bid. So we would do that through our BAVN process. Through Streets LA, we would advertise it there, and any other opportunity that's available to us, we would also do that. And that's pretty much it. The cost is anywhere from $100,000 up to $300,000 if approved, but we're just trying to at least get a contract out there so that we can move forward with our planning.
Thank you, Monica. Colleagues, any questions on this? We'll start with you, Vice President Garcia.
Thank you, President Good. Monica, quick question. Is this service a one-time deal, or is this going to be a continuous, over the years type of hauling service that we need?
Right now, we're scheduled to do it on a limited seasonal basis as we are approved for funding. So basically, an as-needed service, but we need to have a contract in place when it's time for us to do those projects.
Okay, understood. Thank you. That's all for me, President.
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. President Pro Tem Davis.
Yes, I wanted some clarification in terms of the quantity of services of independent contractors we need. Is this one person we're searching for, or is it 2 people? You mentioned 2 different machines. Or is it one person that can do the both of the machines that need to be done?
We're actually just looking for one contractor that can take care of both equipments that would be most cost effective for the contract.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Commissioner Colosa.
Thank you, President Good. Thank you for your presentation. I just had a question about the contract we have in place now. Is that something that how are we providing the service now? Is it mainly through like an AE or?
Yes. Currently, we're having to do it through an AFE process, and we need to get to where we're actually doing it through the bid and award process, which is why we're trying to move forward from the AFE to the actual contract. And understanding that we do have an LOA agreement with the AFE, so it is a contract, but it's done through a different process.
And right now, we only have one contractor performing the service as needed?
Yes, and that current contractor is Homer Mann.
And so for this process, could you just, I know it's in here in the report, but it kind of came up, I know, last week in a few other discussions, but could you just briefly describe why Streets LA requested a waiver for business inclusion for this?
Well, according to one of the reasons why we did it, because we thought that the work is limited in scope. It's just basically to move the equipment to the job site so that we're able to do the work. To sub that out, we just, in talking to personnel and going through the process, it was determined that there just really wasn't any opportunity for subcontracting for this particular contract.
Okay, got it. Thank you for that explanation. I don't have any other questions, President Good. Thank you so much, Ms. Shelton.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Calosa. Commissioner Villegas, any questions or comments?
No questions. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Shelton Carson, two quick questions. One, I know that we're all abundantly aware of the cost containment measures that the mayor and council are contemplating. Among them is reviewing contracted services versus what can be handled inside. I trust, or have y'all done, and you spoke to this a little bit, but have y'all, do you have sort of some of the adequate back up or background for your 1022 analysis on this?
Well, when we submitted our 1022, going through that review process, it was determined that the city employees just do not have the expertise to perform this type of work. Once we got that determination, then we were pretty much green-lighted to go forward with going through the contract process.
Okay, so personnel's actually already reviewed that. And for the public, the 1022 is from the LA Administrative Code, and it's basically the requirement that a department have findings that city employees are not able, for some reason, be it expertise, capacity, or what have you, to perform duties. And that is the rationale and predicate justification for contracting out. The mayor, in a very recent memo, has instructed, and CAO actually, in a report just yesterday in the Budget and Finance Committee, has stressed that departments will need, moving forward, to look at all contracts moving forward to ensure that we are really avoiding going out any more than necessary if we can handle things internally. So hence the question, and thank you, Monica, for that clarification. And then again, just on the BIP waiver, the business inclusion waiver, this is self-performing work is ultimately the deal, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right, great. All right, thank you, Monica, thank you, John. Do I have a motion to move this item forward?
So move.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Any objections, Vice President Garcia?
No objections, thank you.
All right, any objections, Commissioner Calosa?
No objections.
Okay, hearing no objections, we will move this item as approved forthwith. Colleagues and friends of the board, we're headed into the fourth hour of this meeting. And given that we have a few more items of business, I'm going to call a 10-minute recess for folks to recoup and regather. And so we will restart this meeting at 1:03 in the PM. And I will see John Hamilton stretching up there. So he needed to recess. We'll see you all back in 10 minutes. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay.
Greg, do you want me to?
Okay, Mr. President, I am going to start the recording now. And council audio is, the line's open. So we are good.
Great. All right. We are officially reconvened. Colleagues, we're on item number 10 for today.
Mr. President, if I could just establish quorum since we took a recess and just coming back. For the record, we have President Good, Vice President Garcia, President Pro Tem Davis, Commissioner Villegas, and Commissioner Caloza. President Good, you do have a quorum. You can now continue.
Thank you, Dr. Campos. So item 10 is all council districts. This is a request for proposal, traffic freeway off-ramp closure services. Recommending the board, 1, issue and release the RFP for traffic freeway off-ramp closure services. 2, evaluate the RFP submissions based on the criteria set forth in the RFP and select and interview the most qualified proposers who submits the best and most responsive proposal. 3, negotiate a personal services contract with the selected and recommended proposer subsequent to objective review of all proposals received. And 4, return back to the board for authority to award and execute the negotiated contract. Mr. Sapone is with us again for this item. And I don't know, Monica, if you're also on this item as well. Thank you both. Please go ahead. Monica or John, who's presenting?
Monica, start.
Oh, Monica, you're on mute. Oh, you were frozen for a second.
There she is. She may be frozen.
Yeah, Commissioner Good, I can start off by just telling you that the need here for this contract is for the ability to close freeway off-ramps, closures, and it's a device we need to have to do our resurfacing and to do the projects. And it's something that's not within our scope of work to do. It involves specialized equipment as well as permitting and traffic plans that our Streets LA does not immediately have in its availability currently. And it involves anywhere from maybe 10, 12 projects a year for this specialized closures. And the proposal is out for companies to actually do this, and they work closely with the Caltrans and with the permitting requirements throughout the process, and it actually meets in the field with them on every project we do. So it's a lot of different things involved with this proposal here for you today.
Thank you, John, very much. And hopefully Monica can join back in. Colleagues, let's open this up for discussion. Vice President Garcia, any questions or comments?
Thank you. Yes, I do. John, is this type of request new to Streets LA?
No, it's not new. It's something that, for as long as I remember as a superintendent, we've always had a vendor that would be able to do the freeway closures for us. Again, like I said, represents a small part of our pavement preservation program, project-wise, but it is something that is not uncommon.
Got it. How are we currently doing it now?
Right now, currently, we rely on a contractor to do this for us.
And that's no longer feasible or sustainable?
So the contract expired last fiscal year. So we've had to push our projects forward as we are trying to acquire a vendor to do this for us.
And that contractor that you currently work with, and this might be a question for Ted as well, would be able to bid on this type of, on this contract? RFP, I'm sorry, this RFP that we're doing.
I believe so, yes, they're fully qualified.
Okay. And just last question for my clarification. So the idea is that we contract, we go through the bidding process, we get a contractor, and the contractor does the closures for us, and they communicate with Caltrans. That's the scope of their work.
And they also apply for the permit as well. What we do, we start basically the application, and then they finish it up because they provide the traffic control plan and any other specialty requests that Caltrans requires due to the ramp. So each off-ramps are different.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for your clarification.
Thank you, Vice President Garcia. President Pro Tem Davis?
I'm okay at this point.
All right. Commissioner Villegas?
I'm good. I was briefed on this item. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Coloso?
Thank you, President Good. Yeah, I just had a follow-up question for Mr. Safani. In terms of is there any part of this work, of this RFP that's specialized in terms of something that we wouldn't be able to do internally within Streets LA?
In short, yes. We don't have a traffic engineer that can perform traffic plans for us currently. We also, the equipment involved, it's specialized because it's more geared for freeway closures. It's different safety type, because we do set up on the street, but when you're dealing with the higher travel speeds and different requirements that the state requires, we don't have those type of vehicles to do. It's also require additional training for that type of work, which is not a problem to do. It's just a matter of having the right equipment to do that.
I see. And then just one last question for me is, how often does Streets LA need to use this service?
So generally we should have about 10, 15 projects a year that we perform work by freeways. So it's a small amount compared to the whole program.
Thank you. I don't have any additional questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Coloso. So 10, 15 projects standard. The contract before, was that on an AFE, or was that also a proposed and awarded contract?
Okay, I can answer that. Okay, so sorry about that. The prior contract was done through the RFB. It was a request for bid, and we did it under for 5 years. It was a 5-year contract, and the contract expired last year.
Okay, so we've literally just held off on projects at on-ramps, on preservation projects?
When we had emergency and we needed to move forward with trying to get the contract, we did it through the AFE process, through a letter of agreement. That was kind of like our gap until we were actually able to get an RFP in motion.
Okay, got it. So then has personnel reviewed this also, Monica, in terms of the 1022 analysis?
Yes, we did a 1022 on this as well. And personnel, they decided in their review that there just weren't city employees that had the expertise to do the kind of work that was needed for the closures.
Just for kicks, does DOT have people that would, or is it the Streets LA doesn't?
Well, I don't know the answer to that question. When we were researching this particular project, we learned that through the state of California, Caltrans, that they require certain contractors to be able, that are trained to do certain kind of work that's dealing with the closures of their freeway, which is something they control.
Right.
And the contractor that we had used in the past was a contractor that was approved by the state.
Got it. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Commissioner, to answer that, I can tell you that in my years of experience, I have not seen DOT perform any kind of traffic control on the freeways.
Really? Okay. All right. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. Thank you, Monica. I see Rose joined us. Thank you, Rose. All right. Do I have a motion to move forward with this? And again, this like the other one, this will go through that process, but it's good that you had personnel review on the 1022.
I'll move it.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Any objections? Commissioner Caloza.
No objections, thank you.
Vice President Garcia.
No objections, thank you.
All right, hearing no objections, this item is approved forthwith. Thank you, Monica, John.
Thank you.
And y'all have great days.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks. All right. Moving on to item number 11. This is Council Districts 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Feels like it's only not CDs 1 and 3. This is contract award, Select Electric Inc., Highway Safety Improvement Program, Cycle 6, Rectangular Rapid Flashing Beacons Project 3, Federal Project number HSIPL-5006, parenthetical 794, close parenthetical, recommending the board, 1, find transmittals number 3 and 5 to be unmerited, as discussed in this report. 2, receive and file transmittals number 4 and 6. 3, declare Select Electric Inc., SEI, first low bidder to be the lowest responsive bidder and award SEI contract for this project for $3,311,113. And 4, authorize the president or 2 members of the board to execute the contract after approval as to form has been obtained from the city attorney, WOE 1907966. This will also be subject to the mayor's cost containment process, as I'm sure you'll recognize. And we have Uy Tran, forgive me if I'm butchering your name, sir, and Linda McGlinchey with us here today to present. Hi, y'all.
Hello.
So please proceed.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Uy Tran. I am a transportation engineer for the Los Angeles Department of Transportation.
Can you say your name again, sir? Literally, as you said it, the microphone blew up somehow, and we didn't hear you.
No worries. My name is Uy, and the last name is Tran.
Thank you, sir.
No worries. And I'm part of the Complete Streets Implementation Division. I'm here today to confirm the department's support for awarding the Highway Safety Improvement Program Cycle 6, Project 3 to the lowest responsible bidder, Select Electric, as recommended.
That's just me or what?
I think that's Mr. Tran's microphone. I'm not sure.
Maybe I should turn off the video to see if that will help. Sorry.
No. We want to see it. Go ahead.
Okay, no worries. Let me continue then. Just to provide you a brief background on the Highway Safety Improvement Program, it is a federal aid program with the purpose of achieving significant reductions in traffic fatalities and serious injuries on public roadways. This construction contract will meet these goals by installing rectangular rapid flashing beacons, as well as new traffic signals at 27 different intersections across the city, including upgrading curb ramps and street lighting. The contract duration is 250 working days. We understand that the lowest bid is approximately 6% higher than the city's estimate. We have thoroughly reviewed this estimate and found nothing out of the ordinary other than the general increase in construction and labor cost. In order to further not delay safety improvement projects and the potential loss of federal grants, along with having to pay back the funds spent to date, we have secured additional funding needed to award this contract. I am again here to confirm LADOT's support for awarding this contract, and thank you for your time and consideration. I will make myself available for questions at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Tran. Ms. Lagorci, anything you would like to add?
Yes, good afternoon. This contract, as Mr. Tran stated, is a federal project. So there are federal disadvantaged business enterprise requirements for it. It had a goal of 10% DBE. Select, upon staff evaluation, found that they did in fact meet the goal or commitment of by pledging 10.58% to DBE subcontractors. As you mentioned, there are some transmittal protests. Belco Electric, the second low bidder, protested because Select did not list all of their DBEs or any DBEs on the list of subcontractors in the bid proposal documents. However, Caltrans requires that staff calculate the DBE pledged participation level based on the information provided in the bidder's Exhibit 15G, which is a federal form required for the funding. Staff did do that, and that's how we came to the amount. Belco also, Select had said that they did meet the requirements as stated. Staff did concur in the race-conscious DBE program for construction contractors, Section 1 specifications and plans. It states that in case of conflict between the standard specifications and the special provisions, that the precedents will be used in lieu of the conflicting portions, and it's the special provisions that shall take precedence. That's where the 15G and 15F requirement comes in over the list of subcontractors. Then what's not in the board report is Belco submitted another protest letter dated September 10th. In that, they tried to argue that staff did not evaluate the listed DBE supplier properly. Supreme Wholesale Electric is DBE certified in the correct NICS code, but Belco argued that they did not have the work code applicable for this particular project. However, the federal regulations are clear. We do and can only apply DBE participation credit based on the NICS code, not the work code. Work codes are something that's specific to Caltrans that they use in their certification process, which helps further define the work. However, Caltrans' website states that the NICS code is the standard used by federal statistical agencies in classifying business establishments for the purposes of collecting, analyzing, and publishing statistical data related to the U.S. Business economy. The work codes supplement NICS codes that are used by the UCP during DBE certification processes. These codes provide a general overview of the process used to determine code assignment. The work code template is not all-encompassing list of DBE firms, what they can perform, and should be used as a guide only. So therefore, although Belco mentioned that the supplier did not have a specific work code, they do in fact have the NICS code required to perform the work, and therefore we are giving Select that participation credit.
Okay, Did I just cut you off, Linda? I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry, I finished.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, colleagues, let's open this up for discussion. Vice President Garcia.
Thank you, President Good. I do have some questions. So I see that the estimated amount is 34% higher than our city estimate. It's now 3.3 million. Can you tell me what we're getting for 3.3 million? I see 25 of the, what did you call them, triangle lights, I believe, and I'm sorry if I'm not saying that right at all. But can you give me more explanation of where our 3.3 million is going to go for this project?
Yes, Commissioner Garcia. Basically, what we're getting with this $3.3 million is rapid flashing, basically RFPs and new signals. The reason of the discrepancy is it's a federally funded project, so therefore when we submitted our paperwork for authorization for construction, that estimate was performed almost now, I think about 2 years now. And the reason it took that long is because while we go through that process of getting authorization, we had to submit the paperwork back then. And by the time we got authorization to proceed to construction, then we had to do the RTA checklist and all the other paperwork and special specs for this particular project. So during that time, there was an escalation of costs. So therefore, that's why I said earlier that after we did a new analysis to see if this bid was comparable to the new city estimate, the difference was only about 6%.
Okay, but what kind, can you give me a little more description of what will come by us paying $3.3 million?
Okay, so basically...
How will the city benefit that and residents?
Okay, so these are rectangular rapid flashing beacons. So these are those beacons or pedestrian warning devices that are installed on the street to warn vehicles that there's a pedestrian crossing at these intersections. So these are safety countermeasures, and also we're installing new traffic signals along certain locations. So basically, a total of 27 new locations are being upgraded or installing these type of countermeasures to improve the safety for pedestrians.
And will that be throughout the city? I see that
city, yes.
Basically every council district except one.
Except for 1 and 3.
Or 1 and 3. So why is that? Why are we not including one?
Normally we go through a selection process, and basically we solicit all these accidents and council input, and then we apply for all these different grants. And depending on which makes what the grantor select, this is the one that got selected. So there's not just we only selected these. There's other packages that did not get approved. So this is one of the packages got approved. So in theory, we have, I think in this cycle, we had like 5 different packages got approved, from RFPs to signals to median islands through various types of projects. So this is, as you can see, project 3 of many other projects.
Okay, thank you, Louis. I'm sorry that I was being a little more scripted, but as you know, we just kind of have to be a little bit more conscious of where we're spending our money, especially
no worries.
With a 34% hike from our estimate. It was kind of alarming to me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Vice President Garcia. President Pro Tem Davis. You're muted, Mike.
I understand that this is a federal contract. We've had several challenges, but every issue and concern that has been raised, Mrs. McGlinchey has given us the justification in terms of how those concerns have been clarified so that we're clear on that. And it's a federal contract, and I know that they do usually require inclusion in some way, and to the degree that we ever can, we want to make sure that we move in a way that we can embrace diversity on some of these projects. So having said all of that, I'm pretty clear on where we are with this particular motion. Thank you.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. Commissioner Colosa.
Thank you, President Good. I don't have any questions for this one, but I will just add a few more notes to Mr. Tran's presentation. I was also concerned about the difference between the city estimate and the bid amount that came in. And so that was one of the things that the Department of Transportation and the Bureau of Engineering did additional work on to recalculate what the current city estimate is, because we don't typically have such a large delay from when we make the estimate and then award the project. And so this was similar to an item that we heard a few weeks ago. And so I really appreciate DOT's work on this for doing this calculation to contextualize what's before us and how, this was, had we awarded back then, or had we received bids, 2 years ago, it might be a very different scenario. But knowing that these are precious federal dollars for our critical programs, I am supportive of this measure, and these monies are the ones that we use for the programs like Complete Streets, Vision Zero. So these are the programs that this funding supports. And so I just wanted to add that, and also thank DOT as well for doing the additional work of calculating what the parking loss assessment is every time we do this work. I know that was brought up a few times last year, and so that's one of the transmittals. In case any of my colleagues are curious to see what the parking loss is for any of the council offices that you liaise with. So that's really important information that impacts the community directly, but it's
recommended now
here in the board report. So thank you so much, Mr. Tran. And I don't have that concludes my comments.
Thank you, Commissioner Calosa. Commissioner Villegas.
Just quick questions. Did we get back, Ms. McGlinchey, did we get back to Belco? I'm going to butcher the name, Elnor Group? One of the protest letters, did we get back to them?
I'm sorry, what are you talking about? Just in general, the original protest letter that they submitted, they did get a copy of the board report and it was included. The one that they submitted last Thursday, no, we did not get back to them. We just received it late Friday afternoon, and we took yesterday to review and make sure we could go forward with this recommendation.
Okay, and it's the same issues that they brought up before?
No, this was a different issue. But I believe they should have been aware that this hearing was occurring.
Okay, all right. I was just asking just for like transparency. I just wanted to put that on the record. And then on the some of the equipment that we're going to be placing, the rectangular rapid flashing beacons, are those going to be solar, do you know?
My understanding is some of them, they are.
Okay. All right. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. It was part of the issue, and I apologize for just trying to boil it down, but that on federal requirements, there's less obligation to list who your subs are in the DBE model, and as opposed to what we do, which is require an actual listing of who the subs would be.
So the federal requirements do require a listing of the DBE subs, but they allow for the prime to submit them, although the protest letters mention four days. That's an old requirement. It used to be they had to submit it within 4 working days. It has since changed to 5 calendar days. They must submit the documents, which include the 15G, which is their pledge DBE participation, as well as their DBE good faith effort, which if they fail to meet the goal, that is another way that they can still be eligible for the contract. In this case, because staff found that they met the goal, we did not review the good faith efforts submitted by Select.
Let's see. Okay. I'm realizing that we actually have Select has actually joined the call to provide comment on this item. Dr. Campos, are you there?
Yes, I am, Mr. President. Yes, you are correct. We did have Mr. Stan Clark from Select Electric on the line at 10 a.m. this morning. I believe he's still on the line. Yes, he is. Mr. Clark, your line is open.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Hi. Welcome.
I just would like to say thank you. I agree with the findings of contract administration and look forward to delivering you another successful project.
Thank you very much, Mr. Clark. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
But you're doing the same. Appreciate it. Any other callers on this item, Dr. Campos?
Mr. President, I can do a quick check for you. Any caller from the general public that's on the line that would like to make any public comments on item number 11, the Board of Public Works is now considering the contract award at this time. Can you please press star 9 to make any comments? Again, any caller on the line from the general public that would like to make any commentary on item number 11, the Board of Public Works is now considering the contract award to Select Electric. Please press star 9. Mr. President, no other callers on the call in the queue for this item.
Thank you. Okay. So do I have a motion? Again, this will be subject to the mayor's cost containment process. Do I have a motion to move this item forward? Thank you, Commissioner Colosa. Do I have a second?
Second.
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry. We don't want to go.
Seconds from President Pro Tem Davis and Vice President Garcia. Any objections, Commissioner Villegas?
None. Thank you.
All right. This board is defined by its enthusiasm, if nothing else. So hearing no objections, the item is approved forthwith. Thank you, Mr. Tran. Thank you, Ms. McGlinchey, as always, and y'all have great days. And thank you, Mr. Clark.
Thank you very much, Board. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Colleagues, that brings us to item number 12. This is for all council districts. This is an authority for expenditure. State of California Department of General Services, Office of Fiscal Services, Service Revolving Fund. Bureau of Street Services and Office of Accounting are requesting board approval and execution of an authority for expenditure in the amount of $220,265 to encumber funds to pay for the use of gas lines to operate the heater and dryer equipment at the Bureau's asphalt plants. This is AE 210-00010M, Fund Number 100, General Fund, Department Number 86, Appropriation Unit 003330. This will also be subject to the mayor's cost containment process. And Rose Karajian is here with us. Hi, Rose.
Hi, good afternoon, President Good, Commissioners of the Board of Public Works, Executive Officer and City Attorney. My name is Rose Karagizian, Chief Management Analyst with Streets LA, Bureau of Street Services. I'm here today to present the authority for expenditure to be able to pay the state for the natural gas that we use for our asphalt plants. This is a routine AFE done annually, submitted for approval each year to encumber funds to pay for the use of the gas lines. The amount of this AFE is $220,265. Based on the spending and usage in 2019-20. Also, the Bureau does receive information from the state at its annual customer training, which we considered to ensure that there's no significant rate increases. Bureau receives monthly bills that detail the terms that are used, which we review and approve along with the Street Renewal Division that oversees the 2 asphalt plants owned by the City of Los Angeles. We have the budget to be able to to encumber these funds and pay for the bills through our account 3330, which is our utilities account. I'm available if you have any questions.
Thank you, Rose. Colleagues, we'll start with Vice President Garcia. Any questions or comments?
Excuse me.
Bless you.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. No questions, no comments. Thank you.
Gesundheit, President Pro Tem Davis.
Yes, bless you.
All right, thank you, Vice President Garcia. President Pro Tem Davis, I'm going to let you recover for a second.
Yes. I'm okay on this item. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Colosa, any comments or questions?
The crap out of me. No objection. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Villegas.
I know, it's a good thing it's virtual. I've got like some sprinkles over here.
All right.
No comments, no questions. I'm good.
Great, thank you. Do I have a motion to move this forward?
I'll move it.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas, seconded by President Pro Tem Davis. Any objections, Vice President Garcia?
Okay.
No objections on my side. Thank you.
Any objections, Commissioner Colosa?
No objections. Thank you.
All right, hearing no objections, this item is approved forthwith. Thank you so much, Rose.
Thank you.
All right.
Mr. President, for the record, item number 12 is subject to the mayor's approval for cost containment since it exceeds $100,000 for the AFE.
Yes. So approved as amended. Yep. Okay, thank you, Fernando. Item 13, this is also all council districts. This is another AFE. This is with sanitation. Bureau of Sanitation and Office of Accounting are requesting board approval and execution of an authority for expenditure in the amount of $50,000 to encumber funds for permit fees and related expenses for Clean Water Division generators for fiscal year 2020-2021, term of July 1, 2020 to June 30, 2021. This is AE 217-60963M, Fund Number 760, Sewer Operations and Maintenance Fund, Department Number 50, Appropriation Unit 50, TX82. Mark Lansang is here with us to explain. Please proceed, Mark. How are you?
Hi. Good afternoon, President Good, commissioners, and board members. Mark Lansang with LA Sanitation and Environment, Clean Water Conveyance Division. For agenda item number 13, we are asking for approval for an authority for expenditure with the South Coast Air Quality Management District in the amount of $50,000. The division maintains emergency backup generators at 40 facilities, including sewage pumping plants, low-flow diversions, and air treatment facilities. This encumbrance is necessary to pay for permit fees to operate the generators. The $50,000 represents the same amount that the division requested last fiscal year, and the fees will remain about the same this year because AQMD will be issuing a one-time credit to offset a 2.8% CPI-based fee increase due to the pandemic. I can answer any question at this time.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. Colleagues, any questions? Start with Vice President Garcia.
No questions. Thank you.
Okay. President Pro Tem Davis?
None for me either.
All right. Commissioner Villegas?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you. And Commissioner Colosa?
No questions for me. Thank you.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Davis. And a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Any objections, Commissioner Colosa?
No objections.
Thank you. Vice President Garcia?
No objections. Thank you.
Mark, hearing no objections, this is approved forthwith. I think you win the contest for the fastest item of the day.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you, and you too.
Right,
Thank you.
All right. Item number 14. This is in Council Districts 4, 7, 14, and 15. Bureau of Sanitation and Office of Accounting are requesting board approval and execution of an authority for expenditure in the amount of $70,000 to pay annual permit fees for composting, green waste processing, and other operational emissions at multiple Bureau of Sanitation locations, including Lopez Canyon Landfill, Green Waste Processing Facility, Harbor Mulching Facility, Griffith Park Composting Facility, and the Central Los Angeles Recycling and Transfer Station, affectionately known as Clark's. Authorize the president or two members of the Board of Public Works to execute this service agreement. This is AE 211-00989M, Fund Number 100, General Fund, Department Number 82, Appropriation Unit 006020. Miguel Carrillo is with us this afternoon. Good afternoon, Mr. Carrillo.
Yes, hello. Good afternoon, Commissioner and President Good. So we're requesting $70,000 for composting green waste regulatory emission permit fees from AQMD. Permits include composting equipment, composting practices. We need to pay fees in order to stay in compliance. We're increasing the amount this year because we're in the process of getting AQMD permits for new compost equipment that we got for Lopez Compost Facility. So that's pretty much the request, AQMD compliances.
All right, thank you very much, Miguel, appreciate it. Any questions or comments, colleagues? Commissioner Villegas.
No questions. I'm good. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Closa?
I don't have any questions, but thanks to LA Stan, Mr. Hamilton, Miguel, thank you for being patient as we finally get to items today.
No worries.
Ditto. Sorry about that. President Pro Tem Davis.
I'm fine on this item, thank you.
Gotcha. Okay. And then Vice President Garcia?
No issues, thank you.
All right. Got a motion from President Pro Tem Davis to move this forward?
Yes.
Got a second from?
Villegas.
Villegas. Any objections, Commissioner Colosa?
None, thank you.
Any objections, Vice President Garcia?
None either, thank you.
Miguel, John, I think you tied for the fastest item. This one is not subject either to the Mayor's Cost Containment Amendment or process. Hearing no objections, this item is approved for. Thank you both. Thank you all very much. Now you get to go back to work. All right.
Oh, wow.
Thank you. Dr. Campos, are the decks cleared, sir? Any closing comments, commissioners? Any questions? All right. Hearing none.
We like the breaks.
Duly noted. All right.
Okay.
You got it. All right. This meeting is adjourned, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all so much.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Thanks, Ted. Thanks, Fernando. Thanks, everybody.
All righty.